This 27-year-old from Malibu, California is chasing something only a few riders ever achieve, becoming a world champion. Joe Roberts' journey in Moto2 hasn't been easy. He's had the speed, the talent, and the potential, but turning that into results took time. There were seasons of struggle, races that slipped away, and moments where it felt just out of reach, but he never backed down.
I never gave up, and I'm not giving up. I'm gonna keep going.
Then, in 2024, everything started to click. He landed on the podium 4 times and finally got that first win at Mugello, a moment that showed he wasn't just fast, he was a real contender. And with the results the best they have ever been and an American team entering MotoGP, it looked like Roberts was on the precipice of achieving a lifelong goal of racing at the pinnacle of the sport.
You know, the chance to maybe go to MotoGP and not having it, the thing I'm more bummed about is just that I didn't win the World Championship.
Ultimately, it was not to be, and now his focus is clear, becoming the Moto2 World Champion in 2025. Every race, every lap, every move is about one thing, ending the season on top. Gypsy gang, welcome Joe Roberts to the podcast.
I met a gypsy.
You know what it's like when you have stuff that's happened, you're kind of, at first, it like stings.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're just
Time
like,
heals all
Time
wounds.
heals all. So.
No, that's a good way to a good way to look at it. Well, what's that? Yeah. Joe Roberts. We're doing it. Gypsy Tales.
Are we on here?
We're live.
Let's go.
Let's lock in, dude. I'm stoked that you're doing this. Breakout season, one of the big Americans in the whole MotoGP, Moto2 world, and just a cool motherfucker too. So I'm keen.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. It's I've been wanting to come on here for a while. Like I said, I've never actually done a podcast before, so let's get into it. There's gonna be some stuff we get into. We're gonna talk a whole bunch of random things here. I got so much to talk about. So
where do you want to start? What's on your mind lately?
Damn.
Not even like bikes, just life. Like what's going on?
I don't know, man. I've had a lot of time off, which has been kind of interesting. I broke my wrist back in Phillip Island.
Yeah. Great track.
Amazing track.
But
I think
bit you.
Bit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, in theory, but when you get there, you're like, oh shit, this is actually really hard to ride.
It's gnarly, hey.
Yeah, it's not. I think Phillip Island is probably every rider's favorite track, and then you get there and you're like, okay, this is actually really difficult.
Where'd you go down?
Dude, it's honestly the stupidest crash I've ever had in my career, which ended up being the worst injury of my career, which I think is probably what happens a lot, you know, but
look at Jet on the weekend. I don't know if you follow the Supercross much, but
I loosely follow it. I know you guys have a pretty heavy motocross fan base, so
yeah. Well, he just puts his foot down, dabs his knee.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. That's a bummer, man. I've been working with this like physio, and I've seen some athletes in there with like he tore his ACL, right? Yeah, and meniscus. Yeah. So it's gonna be a long recovery.
But sometimes that's how it happens.
Yeah,
it wasn't even a crash. Biggest injury of his career.
Yeah, well, mine was a little different. I basically, it was in the rain. You know, you've been to Phillip Island, right? Yeah. You get these like cold fronts that come up from like the Arctic, I guess, and it's so chilling. And you get these winds that are like 40 miles an hour.
Sideways across the track.
Yeah, coming into turn 1. I mean, there's nothing like going into turn 1 at Phillip Island with a 40 mile an hour side wind in the rain.
And as soon as you get past the pit lane and then you get exposed, like you've got the big welcome to Melbourne sign. Yeah. And you're still wide open past that. And then
So basically what happened was the day before it was like all kind of rain. The day was it was raining and I couldn't find my feeling. And normally I always kind of pride myself in being a decent rain rider. But for whatever reason this year I haven't been able to or last year I hadn't really been able to find my flow with it, you know, just I love the Pirellis a lot, but the rain tires are a little different, you know, they're kind of harder to understand for me. And so the first day I was just struggling so hard on it, and you know, my team were giving me a little bit of shit. They're like, oh, I thought you were a good rain rider, you know, and I was like, oh, screw this, man. And I have this thing that I do with rain normally, which is, you know, guys will go out and kind of tiptoe around. And especially when it's cold, I have this feeling like if you go out and you're just tiptoeing around, your tires are just going to cool off so quickly.
Yeah.
So I always try to just go out and get my knee down straight away and just start working the tires, get some heat in them because they're so soft. They build heat so quickly.
Yeah.
And the grip the day before was really good. And then for some reason that morning, I was just like, okay, put all this like thing aside that the tires aren't good or the track's not grippy or whatever. Just sometimes with racing, you just got to like put your mind to the side and just go out and do it.
Yeah.
And this was one instance that didn't work.
Yeah.
It was on my outlet, man. I came into turn 2 and I was like, all right, here we go. Just in, let's get it on the knee. I was like, there we go. Starting to feel good. That's my feeling. And I cracked the throttle and it just went, just threw me up. And I don't really know where I got my wrist, if it was like on the part getting thrown off or coming down.
Yeah, because you can get so much feedback like through the handlebars and something like that.
Yeah, and man, it was weird. I knew I did something to my wrist, and a wrist injury is kind of weird too. You don't know exactly. It feels almost like a heavy sprain.
Did you do like a scaphoid?
Yeah, I did the scaphoid.
Yeah.
So that is like...
They can be such a bitch, dude.
Yeah, they told me all the horror stories too, and like I was freaking out a little bit about it, but I got surgery like right away, put like a screw in it. And like with my collarbone, I've done both collarbones.
Yeah.
I came back like the week after and saxturing and rode. So in my mind with injuries, always been like, yeah, they're just injuries, like whatever, I can overcome it.
Yeah.
This thing was like the first time that I came back home, and then I saw like a hand specialist in LA, and when he took off the like cast I had, like the movement I had freaked me out because I was like, I couldn't even move it at all.
Yeah.
And it felt so delicate, and like they were just telling me stuff like, oh, if you do it wrong, it will like you'll get non-union, and then it's like, it could be like a whole year of trying to get it to work. John Hopkins told me about all his kind of stuff with his wrist. He ended up just riding through a broken wrist, which down the road he almost like had to fuse his wrist basically. So yeah, it was kind of a weird thing, but at the same time, when you get like an injury like that, it's kind of nice. You just like sit at home, you disconnect.
Zone out a little bit.
I didn't even really watch any of the races after that. I just honestly just like been playing a lot of music. I love music, so I just put myself like I'm not a racer anymore. I'm just a kid and a guy in LA. I'm not a kid anymore, man.
Yeah, we're all getting older.
We're all getting older. The years are coming. But yeah, I'm just a guy in LA, and I was just playing my music and stuff. But now I've been working on it like every week. I've been going to my physio, and it's pretty good, man. I've been riding recently, which has been fine. It's still painful to ride with, but I've seen guys at the track that, they know about my injury, and they'll come up to me like, oh, I did my scaphoid too. And I'm like, oh, how's your movement? And dude, they can't even move it like past that. I'm like, oh my God. Like
it's crazy that it's just such a small little bone.
Yeah.
But I mean, your whole wrist is made up of, there's
Yeah.
like 20 bones or however many there is in there. And they're just all these very delicate. They don't get blood supply. They don't heal.
Well, and I also, when I broke it too, like I think the doctor explained to me, if you break your wrist, it's just like a whole movement. So like other bones are going to break too. So I broke other bones in my wrist as well at the same time, but the scaphoid was like the main one. So yeah, but it's okay. I'm fine. I feel good.
Yeah.
Wrist is there.
Got to pay to play.
Exactly. I feel like I've been pretty lucky in my career. I haven't had like the worst injuries,
Yeah.
I'll knock on wood on that, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
How cool is Phillip Island though?
yeah, it's like everybody's dream to ride that track, and it's a weird one too with like Lukey Heights is my favorite corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just come over there and it's just, you can't see anything, and you just feel this like, you feel like balance with the rear tire. You feel like so at one with the motorcycle at that track. You have to really understand what you're doing. And just floating over the top of the hill there. It's a cool track.
It's
sure.
just got everything. I was lucky enough to ride there a few years ago for like a Ducati. They do like owner ride days all over the world where they like rent the track out or whatever. And yeah, like, just crazy to feel the undulation, and like every corner is almost like a signature corner.
Yeah.
It's like a whole track of signature turns, you know?
Yeah, and I didn't even need to go to that track to know where it went. You know, it's just one of those ones that you just know. If you grew up watching racing, you know every single corner of that track. You know, Mugello's also like that.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, that's another amazing track. Probably one of the top. I think it goes. People ask me like what my favorite tracks are. I think it goes Brno. But it's hard between Brno and Mugello are my favorite, and then Phillip Island third.
Is that the first time you actually got to ride it, or you had got to ride it before? Because did Moto2 always raced at Phillip Island, or was that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, so, I rode there for the first time in 2018.
So you've been able to go there a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Such a sick place.
Yeah.
But the day I rode it too, I got so lucky. Just no wind, no weather, sunshine. Nice. It stayed warm. I reckon I would have struggled. Like if it was wet, I probably just wouldn't have really fucked with it at all.
Dude,
but
yeah, it's kind of like one of those things. You go there and the weather is never ideal, and then when it is, you just feel so lucky to be there on that day. You know, you're like, this is.
Yeah, that was the day.
God's country, right?
That
here.
was the day that I got it too. It was so prime, mate. Like flannel weather.
Yeah,
like not even having to wear a sweater.
Yeah, or like, yeah. I mean, I've been there with t-shirts, dude. Just a t-shirt and shorts even, man. That's the prime right there.
Yeah. That never happens there.
No. But
what was your favorite moment from that race? Like, do you have any, or like just Phillip Island races in general?
The annoying thing about it is I've never had a race there that I look back on and go, that was incredible. I would like that this year. Just to be like, that was an insane, awesome race.
Well, you've set yourself up for a good story, like a good comeback story at Phillip Island.
I think so, right?
So like, yeah, you've kind of got the low to the high.
I'm going to go back there. I'm going to sit in the corner, turn 2, and I'm going to make peace with it. So I love this corner. It's okay. And then everything will be all right.
Yeah. That's probably one of the more, at least for me, like I have limited experience with road racing, like so much more.
You're like more dirt, right?
More dirt, yeah. But I loved it, dude. Like the 2 years that I got to work with Ducati in Australia, I actually got to do a bunch of it, and it was the best. It was so much fun. But yeah, turn 2 was probably one of the better ones for me, and then I think Siberia as well.
Which one's Siberia?
It's like I'm pretty sure it's the bottom left, like the last of the left-handers before you go.
I'm over here like, I know every single corner.
Yeah.
Like, which one's that one again?
Pull out the track map just to make sure I'm right.
Because I think Siberia is like after the
you go down
Miller corner, they call it now, right? Or Siberia after Lukey Heights.
That's the hay shed, I think.
Okay. Well,
all right, we're both. Yeah, let's go. Let's make sure we get this right.
No, I was right, man.
You
Siberia
were right.
is right there after Miller Corner. See, I know that track.
Is that the one that I... Matt, what's turn 11 then? No, that's not it.
It's nameless.
No, yeah, it's that is the one I was thinking about. Oh, yeah, it is after Miller Corner.
It's nameless, dude. There needs to be some new names.
Maybe next year you can have... I was thinking that was the one that I was thinking about, but I didn't think it came after Miller Corner.
Stoner Corner is probably the most insane corner to go through.
Have you seen all of his like slow-mo videos and shit?
Yeah,
Fuck.
of course.
Did you ever watch the clip of him talking about it on here?
Yeah, I did.
That is one of the cooler things I think that's ever been said on the podcast.
I think I don't know if it was your podcast or something else, but it was before I went to Phillip Island. He was talking about this track, and I listened to it and like how he approached it, and it actually helped me. So
really,
yeah,
dude, yeah, because I remember listening to that and listening to him break that down, and I was like,
yeah,
I wonder if he's ever said this.
Yeah,
because this is some like detailed shit.
Yeah, dude, it's awkward too because you come through turn 3, and then I don't know why it just feels like Miller Corner just feels so like opposite to what the track should be because it's just this kind of awkward flat corner that's tight, little hairpin,
and you're coming off something so fast too.
Yeah, you're coming off turn 1, 2, 3, which are just you're railing around them, and then you've got this like awkward right, and the right side of the tire is always super cold, so you're just like, oh, am I gonna eat shit right now? But yeah, it's I think getting that setup from 3 to 4 is so crucial, like your body position, how you set yourself up to like, because I remember the first times I've gone there, I don't normally get arm pump. I'm not like a rider who's ever. I don't have like the surgery or anything. I never
Yeah.
never ride like super tense on the bike. I'm always like kind of fingertips.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this track I got it like heavily, and maybe it's just because it's like so adrenaline inducing, and you're just like, holy shit, I'm going so fast.
Yeah.
And you're like gripping on as hard as you can. But I'd get it going into turn 4, and it's just kind of like, yeah, finding that position to get yourself set up is difficult there, you know? So, but turn 3 is definitely, yeah, gotta have some balls to get through there. I almost got through there full throttle once.
Really?
Yeah, but I checked off a little bit. So.
Oh, that would have been the sickest claim.
Yeah.
To just actually, and especially because you can go back and look at the data.
Well, I will. There is one thing I can claim, which is I didn't use brakes for turn 1 one time.
What?
One time I didn't do it. I came off there, I downshifted to like 4th, just like quick, and then just got straight back on the throttle. But that was one of those days we're talking about. It's like perfect wind, no wind,
Hot tires.
It was qualifying. It was all, I had to go.
That
you know?
that turn 1 is so scary because the tires are cold. Like on that right, you haven't been on the right of your tires for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, you go in, you got so much speed, and it's like such a huge turn, and you're just like, fuck, that's a lot of commitment.
But there's like a little part to it. If you get close enough to the inside, it actually hooks itself a little bit. And there's a lot of tracks like that. It's kind of similar to like dirt ring. If you analyze the track enough, you can find little...
like ridges almost.
Little ridges, like little bankings inside the banking of the corner. Like Mugello's like that. I remember Mattia Piscini, when I used to ride for Italtrans, he was good friends with my ex-crew chief. And he used to tell me that. He said, if you go through the Arrabbiatas, there's a part on the inside that you actually can hook. And if you ever watched Mattia Piscini ride that track, especially like a couple of years ago when he won, he holds such a tight line everywhere. And
he's like almost catching those little invisible ridges, kind of.
Yeah. And I figured that out for the Arrabbiatas, and like I was so good through that first one. The second one, I was a little not as good as the other guys, but the first one, yeah, you just find that little hook, and it's almost like you can just get a little bit extra grip, you know? And yeah, you got to look for those little details for sure.
I'm barely hanging on. that was the fastest I'd ever been on a bike, was that down that straight too. So I was kind of
in Phillip Island.
Yeah. I was kind of trying to hit some personal speed records.
Yeah.
There's the feeling of coming onto that straight is so rad.
Yeah, I remember there was one time like coming out off the last corner. There's off the curb there. It kind of drops heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching this Moto3 kid in one session before I went out, and he came off the ridge and had this huge moment. And I was like, damn, that looks crazy. And then 20 minutes later, I had the same thing.
Moment.
Yeah. And it was back in like 2018. But in those situations, man, when it steps out like that, you just fucking open the throttle as hard as you can, you know, and just, if you check the throttle, like
that's when it's going to bound up a bit.
Anything in racing, you check the throttle, that's it. The whole thing just binds up, and then you go down.
So what separates you versus me, bro.
You just gotta steps out like that, just hold it wide open, you know. So,
you make me want to ride, bro. Like 15 minutes into this thing,
I know, right?
I'm keen. That's good. That's a good feeling. That's when you know. That's when you know you're in a good place.
Me too, man. I just got back from Chuckwalla too.
I saw that a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's like my training grounds.
Where is that?
It's out past like Palm Springs.
Okay.
The exit's called Desert Center. So it's the center of the desert.
Yeah.
I always tell my like European crew, they're like, where are you riding? I'm like, in the center of the desert.
Center of the desert, bro.
Center of the desert. And it looks like it too. It's so sick. I did like a bunch of laps, and I always ride till it's like sunset there. And yeah, it's pretty sick. Like the last lap, I always just do like a slow lap, and I just look around. I'm like, this is just so beautiful. You're like in the desert, and you have the whole track to yourself because no one's riding out there when it's like 4:30 and, you know, sun coming down. Everyone's already done riding. It's just me out there ripping around, and I love it. Yeah. It's like my zen place to just go and like work on myself.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird track too. It's not like really like any GP tracks. It's very flowing, which is my style. But it always humbles me too, because I get there and I'm, you know, I have my own R1 my own personal bike, and I have it set up pretty good, and I've gone some pretty decent lap times there. So I get there and I'm like, yeah, I'm so good at this track. I'm going to go out there and kill it. And I'm out there hammering on the throttle and the lap time's just shit. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I've lost it. I've lost my flow. And then I just realized it's like this track is just, you can't, especially on an R1 where I don't use traction control on it, and you can't spin the tire. You just have to like listen to that tire. Like the track is just like listening to the tire. How much am I spinning it? You know, and it really develops a lot of feel. And honestly, I credit that training I did last year on the Pirellis on my R1 at that track for like the beginning success of my season last year, just because I felt so attuned to the tire. I felt like I just put so much knowledge into understanding it by riding that track. And yeah, so I love that place. It's really cool.
Dude, I love that. Like, I love you're obviously like just a very aware dude too. And I love when someone's doing shit for the right reason. You know, like there's a reason someone like you rides externally, like money, career, rides. There is that external shit. Like you have to tick those boxes if you like want to make it a career. But if within that game you can play your own game,
right, of
like feeling the tire, learning, like finding the piece of being able to take in a last lap around a track, and like that makes it so much fucking more enjoyable, you know?
Yeah. I think, a lot of people, I'm doing it for a long time, man, like over 20 years of riding. Just crazy to say. I'm 27, but I've been doing it a long time, and I always try to find new motivations each year too. I actually wanted to do more motocross this off season, but with my wrist, I couldn't.
Yeah, it would have been harder.
Yeah, it would have been hard. But I'm always trying to find new motivations, and I'm not generally somebody. I do like training with other riders, but I like to kind of do my own thing a little bit, and I try to surround myself with people that kind of, understand me and what I need and me as a rider. So I'm a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, and those people that understand what I need and all those things.
And kind of like match the energy in a way.
Yeah. I have a guy, Chris Lessing, who works for Chuck Graves. Like Chuck Graves and the Graves Motorsports guys are actually so crucial for my off-season training. They like really help me out. They always take care of me with my R1 and always give me bikes, their Kawasaki's that they have. And but this guy, Chris Lessing, he's like a suspension guy and worked in the paddock for a long time. Used to work in World Championship, but he kind of keep me in check because sometimes I'm always, I'm out there, I'm like chasing lap times, and it's just from like racing Moto2 for so many years, you're like conditioning yourself. Everything is based off lap times. And at one point I really got like so burnt out with it that I was just like, this isn't like that fun anymore for me. Like this just feels like work. I'm just out here trying to just chase lap times. I'm always comparing myself to other riders, and it came a point where I just had to like put the lap timer away and just go out and ride and just try shit and see how it felt. Another thing I really got into was like vintage bikes. I kind of found like that like love for just the actual thing, which is just motorcycle.
The motorcycle.
Because I see guys and they're like, I love motorcycles so much. And, I see them out on sport bikes and I'm like, I do like those, but this just feels so much. I just associate those with racing.
Yeah.
And I think I went back to this like younger state of like where just me and my dad would go out riding together, and it was just like the dirt bike that I had, and I loved motorcycles so much. So I found that in vintage bikes, and also just like, loading up my van with my own R1 and driving out to Chuckwalla and sleeping in the cabin out there. Just felt
listening to the music you want to listen to.
Bring my guitar out and just play some music and but just kind of getting it down to the basics, and like I'd bring my brother out and he'd help like wrench on my bike with me, and it just felt so like wholesome and very good for my soul.
Dude, for sure. Like that's the biggest thing. And so many guys, they lose that in their career, like there becomes such a distance between the externals of, your career and your drive and your ride and your sponsors and the money and the fame, and like that's all a thing too. But it's like if there's not a real internal reason for doing the thing, it becomes very hard to sustain. And then I think it becomes hard to sustain through hard times as well, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
and if you're not on this like linear progress, you're not having fun. Like Jack Miller, the best for that, bro. You know
Yeah.
what that dude does when
Well-
he's not racing?
What does he do?
Builds tracks, rides motos, builds bikes. His
Yeah.
best friend's his mechanic at home. And that guy is either on the track or on a tractor fucking 24/7.
Yeah.
Just wants to
That's
ride,
sick.
you know? And it's like, there's a guy that can have longevity through a career, because whether that dude's racing the Moto GP bike or not, he'll be doing the same thing. Like, he loves motorcycles, and it's just so cool to see when, you know, people like yourself that are at the top of the sport, it's like you can kind of maintain that
Yeah.
love, you know?
No, for sure. And I don't know. I also find myself like I have a lot of other interests as well that kind of help, because it's, you got to like you got to disconnect as well. And
Yeah.
like I can't always be on a bike, to be honest, because it just feels, it's like anything. I don't know if you've like tried something for the first time and you're like terrible at it, and then you give it some time, you come back and already you're better than you were before. Sometimes it's like that, like mindset a little bit, that, you know, I see people out there like drilling every single day, and part of me is like, maybe I should do that, you know, but then at the same time, if I do that, I get almost burnt out. Like I feel better in my competitiveness if I take some time off to do me and then come back to it. Like I have this like balance in my life. But, you know, living on the road, it's hard to find that balance, man. Like, especially with the World Championship, as an American, you spend so much time away from home. You're like traveling all over the world. It's so hard. It's so hard, guys, to be traveling the world.
Yeah. Dude, we've done 4 races of Supercross back to back, and I'm
Yeah.
fucking over it.
I know.
I'm
I feel
so
like
ready to just be in the studio,
Yeah.
chilling at my house, riding mountain bikes. Like,
it is funny though, because I feel like I'll explain like the difficult parts of being a world level rider, traveling the world, seeing everything, and doing all these crazy cool things, and riding a motorcycle as fast as you can around a track. Like, you say that sentence and it sounds incredible, and people will probably listen to this like, what does this guy even have to complain about? And
there's 2 edges to every sword, 2
Yeah.
sides to every coin.
but it's funny too, and I'll talk to my friend my best friend who lives in New York, he's like a, you know, musician and stuff, and I'll talk to him about some of the stuff going on, and he just kind of listened to me. He's like, dude, I got to go work in a bar right now till 4 a.m. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, you're so right. Like, I need to get over myself and just, and I think that's like, as I've gotten older, I've gotten like that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I mean, there is the reality, like hard realities of
Yeah.
every job, you know, and I think that the more that you get into things that not everyone can do, there's this balance of like, it's way better. Like, think about Formula One, for example. That's probably like the pinnacle of motorsports in general, right?
Yeah.
They're making the most money. They've got the most money being spent on them. They're traveling this insane schedule. There's only 20. Like, the pressure of it all is
Bastards.
great. Like, but with that, it's like, so there's a very select people that can do it.
Yeah.
The people waiting in the wings, there's like,
Yeah.
there's so many of them. So it's like, it's better. But for all the reasons that it's better, it also sucks.
Yeah.
And it also comes with like this crazy amount of pressure, and like there's way more accountability on the line, you know?
I think it's just the competitive nature of me and other racers that do what I do that make you unhappy in a situation.
Yes. If you're not achieving
Yeah.
to the level. Yeah.
You're constantly looking at others, comparing yourself to other riders that are maybe further along than you. And it's really hard to look at where you're at and go, well, I'm at a good place actually. Like, I don't know, in all sports too, like no one's really that complacent. You know, it's like this mindset of like, I can be better. And, you know, I think that's great. But at the same time, there is that double-edged sword that if you aren't better or things aren't going well, it's like it's like climbing up a ladder. The higher you go, it's like the you know,
the further it is you can fall.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. I've talked to a lot of like older riders that have been champions. You know, like I'm good friends with Wayne Rainey and you know, other champions I've spoken to, and the theme I see is just this kind of levelness that you have to keep throughout a season. Not letting the highs be too high, not letting the lows be too low. You know, sometimes I'll just I feel like a little kid if I get a great result, and like most people, like obviously you work so hard. If you get a great result, you're so stoked, and I'll just embody that for a while. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm loving it. This is great. I just won a race. This is sick. And then, you know, but the next race comes around and you're just, it continues. You have to do it. You have to follow it up. So you can't be living on last week's, you know, success, because this week it could all change. Honestly, in this sport, especially in MotoGP, I really think you're only as good as your last result. And that really rings true, because I've had moments where I've been on like a great trend. And if I have a couple races that I taper off, you know, media tapers off, the attention tapers off. People are like, oh, well, maybe he's not that good, you know? But that's the brutal truth of like this sport. And I also love that aspect, because you can't be too complacent and you got to keep pushing yourself. And the ultimate goal is just to be a champion. So, yeah.
Ricky Carmichael was here a couple of weeks ago, and he would say the exact same thing. He's like, man, he's like, that's probably what my talent was. Is I just never bought into the hype. He's winning every single race. Like, dude got 2 perfect seasons. Yeah. And he always went to the line thinking he was about to lose.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
You know, so like to just stay level, like stay in it.
Yeah.
And then it's like when the win happens, be sweet, cool. Like that was rad. But go back knowing that next week is the week I could lose. But it's such like, that's one of life's dichotomies, you know, is that it's almost like the moment people start congratulating you and telling you that you made it, whatever it is, wherever it is, you made it.
Yeah.
That's like a red flag.
Yeah.
You're
sure.
like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Because if you've got 2 choices, right? You either, oh yeah, I did make it.
Yeah.
I'm the man. And then it's like, if you stay here, the world keeps turning, you know, or you go, no, I didn't. I've got to keep coming up. But it's like, if you don't give yourself that moment to enjoy it, then you're really never enjoying it.
Yeah.
If you stay on that.
Right. That's what I balance with it. I'm like, well, I want to enjoy this. You know, I worked hard for this. Let me enjoy it. But you know, the funny thing is too, like, after I won in Mugello last year, I was so stoked. And it was like incredible. The next day, I was so like bummed out. I don't know why that happens. It's like, I don't know if it's like a chemical thing, like the, you just
you're
come
coming down off like real ecstasy.
It's like a drug, man. You're coming down. I was like kind of depressed. I was like walking around. I mean, not really. I was still like stoked because I was like, I just won that race, and that was like the coolest race ever, like the best weekend of my career, honestly. And but I was like, oh, it's over. That race is in the past now. So I don't know. Maybe there was something like that. But I don't know. Just talking about like these older riders like Ricky Carmichael, and I was talking to Wayne Rainey the other day about, you know, the mindset, and I feel like there's this like way we've been, like in my generation being brought up, there's so many more distractions nowadays. I mean, it sounds like such an obvious thing to talk about, but like as a professional athlete, you have so much more on your plate. Like, you know, I don't have like a team of people managing, you know, all the other aspects around me. I'm not at that level where I can afford to have like a social media manager or this person or all these things. It's like I have to do that all myself. And like, it's so easy to like, if you see something online that you just go, oh, whoa, that like it triggers you almost, you know? There's so many more trigger points around you. And it's like you have to be almost more disciplined, you know? And yeah, these guys, like, I know talking to John Hopkins and stuff, like the things that he would be similar to that is like articles that would come out in magazines. Yeah. You know, but that would be like a week after the race or something. Like we got stuff like right on our phones, like an hour after something's happened, you're like seeing what everyone's talking about, you know?
And to add probably 10 layers of complexity to that is a real-time comment section.
Yeah.
Blowing you the fuck out.
Yeah. I know.
They didn't have to deal with that in the papers. They just had to deal with just the article.
Yeah, and my brother traveled a lot with me last year, so he'd always kind of keep me in check. My older brother, which is always good to have your older brother around. He's like knows what you're thinking before you're thinking it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Not afraid to call you out.
yeah, yeah.
That's the thing about people on the payroll too,
Yeah.
That comes with like its own
exactly.
downfalls, because like, are they going to tell you what they actually think?
No, for sure. I remember in Mugello, just that weekend, I basically was like, I went full like Zen mode, man. Like I switched off the phone. I didn't even have it around me. Not this year, but I had the last few years been staying at the track, and they call it like the GP rooms.
Yeah, yeah.
But this race, because there's just like the people that stay at the track.
So hectic, dude.
Dude, yeah, you'll have like, and I don't know
Air
why.
horns going at 4 a.m.
Yeah, and all the Italian GPs too, they'll have some like DJ set going on until like 4 a.m.
Yeah, bro.
And I don't really like that type of music either. So it'll just be like, I can hear the rhythms like in my bed. I can hear what they're playing, and I'm like, I fucking hate this song. So like this year, I was just like, I'm not dealing with that. And I found this like, honestly, Mugello in that area of Tuscany is just like beautiful. It's so beautiful. So I found this like really nice little hotel, it was like an old farm or something turned into a hotel. And dude, I just made like a routine out of it. I listened to the same music. I listened to all the same stuff, came back every night, did the same thing. And I'd never have felt so locked in on a weekend. There was like almost nothing could stop me from winning that race. I even called my brother. I was driving in. Like I was alone too. I was just driving my car alone. I wasn't around anybody. And I called my brother that morning, and my younger brother in LA. And I was like, I was just talking to him about stuff. And he's like, yeah, I hope you have a great race. And I was like, dude, you jinxed it. And he was like, no, don't tell me I jinxed it. I'm like, no, I'm kidding, man. There's nothing stopping today. I'm gonna win this. So, yeah, but that's not easy to replicate either. And I think that's the mental side of it, where you're like, well, that was so great. Let me just replicate that for the next weekend. And then it's like, oh, well, I didn't get the same result. So is that, working or not? But yeah, it's that level head, man. Just keeping that.
Yeah. I think, did you not caring is like the wrong way to say it, but there's like a non-attachment.
Yeah.
So you can be not attached to any specific thing happening. And I think that sometimes that can be the best place. Like que sera, sera, like whatever's going to be will be type of thing. But then you think that whatever will be is going to be what you actually want it to be.
You're like tricking yourself. You're like, yeah, I don't care. It's not going to happen. But
I think there's like a way where you genuinely can feel that, but also like in this knowing that like I'm going to, maybe not knowing you're going to win, but like just having the belief that if you do what you do properly, you will win.
It's the belief that it's possible, like I think that's the main thing. And yeah, being open to any result, but at the same time, I think, I have times where I just like, no, I'm going to go out there and kill it. I know I see a lap in my head, like in Mugello, that talking about this weekend still, like in the qualifying, I knew I could do a lap in my head. I knew the corners. I visualized every aspect of it. I didn't know what result that would give me because I can't control what other riders are going to do, but I knew that I just wanted to just do everything in my power to be the best on that track that day and ride the track the best I could be. And I ended up setting a lap record and getting pole. So there is kind of like that, you don't care, but you do, because you know what's possible, and you have to have that belief in yourself, so.
Yeah, and I think that it's, again, to go back to the Ricky thing, like that's literally all he said. He's like, I didn't care about anyone else. It was just all me. Like my ability, my focus, the thing that I wanted to do. Because you're right, like you can't control the lap of other people.
Yeah.
But it's like if you just execute everything, just be like psychotically obsessed with your best performance and then not wasting any of the energy on any of the externals, like that has to be the sweet spot.
Yeah, and just also just knowing when to accept a result too, I remember last year, one point in this season, I think it was after Silverstone or something, I'd crashed out of third, and I went to my crew chief. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I feel bad. You let your team down. And he's like, it's okay. And I said, man, I think we could still get the championship. And he's like, do you want me to show you where you'd be if you didn't make these mistakes? Crashing out and breaking your collarbone in Assen. If we would have just, gotten some points there, like continued the trajectory of how I was that season, I would have like been leading the championship. And so there's like such a mental aspect to this. It's like the riding technique part is really the last thing.
The last thing, yeah.
Yeah.
You're good enough to be there.
Yeah, I know how to do it. It's not like, and I don't really need someone there now to tell me, hey, you should lean off this way or you should be doing this. I mean, sometimes it's nice to be like, why are you braking like that? And I'll, because sometimes you do something so much, you fall into bad patterns, and there are ways to reinvent your riding. But for the most part, it's just mental now, you know, like how do I approach the season mentally and knowing that it's possible to be a world champion, I think last year I knew I could be a world champion, but for whatever circumstances, I made some mistakes and injured myself, and we didn't get it. But yeah.
What do you... I always wonder this, right? Like a guy in your position where you spend your whole life like building up to the moment, and then you have the kind of season where, it was like you and Iagura that were just like 1 and 2 and podiums, winning races. But that's like the first time you've been in that. So you're in this trajectory where you're like, I know I can get to there.
Yeah.
And then you get to there, and then it's like, fuck, there's probably all this random shit that you didn't kind of expect that you would have to deal with or face, or like there'd still be a level of doubt, But then I think the lessons that you learned last year going into this year, like you would have to be miles better mentally going into 25 than 24, purely based on lived experience, right?
Yeah, the test comes first. The test comes first. The lesson is learned after, right? Last year, there was some stuff that came up that was new for me, man. I mean, I was in like the top positions in the championship. I never had that.
Exactly.
There was stuff that I was learning as it was going, the amount, how to deal with the media. I mean, there was tons of other aspects to last season with, the potential to move up to MotoGP, which were tricky to navigate. It's always something difficult to navigate because it is your dream. That's like where you want to be. That's the show. It's like everything revolves around the top class. So, when you're in a position where you might be getting something like that, it's difficult to manage that and still go out and perform.
Because you've got two things happening at the same time.
And one of those is really out of your control completely. But you somehow feel like, is there something I can control to make this happen? Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
and that's where it's like the negative part of that. You have to just focus on what you can control, which is going out there and killing it, which I felt I was doing a pretty good job at. But I don't know. That's just the things that were... The thing that was cool about last year is I was getting on the podium. I got like 4 podiums in a row, which had never happened to me before. But it felt easy to be up there, which was weird. I was like, wow, this would be so hard to do normally. But right now it just feels so easy. Like it's sometimes like getting your first win, it like unlocks a whole bunch of other wins.
For sure, dude.
You know what I mean?
There's such a difference between believing and knowing.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same thing on face value, but completely different. One is so much deeper than the other. Like knowing that you can do something versus believing you can do something is a massive difference. And once you win one time, you know you can win. You can spend your whole life believing that you can achieve something, and you're probably right, but until you do it and you get the knowing is gnarly.
Yeah. Those people that haven't done something but know they can and then go out and do it, that's some serious shit.
Yeah. And I feel like you just got into the place where you know you can do all of the things now.
Yeah. Honestly, this year it's just, I just want to focus on what I can control. That's it. Just go out there and win. And I just want to be the best rider I've ever been. And I do feel like I'm getting better each year, which is funny, but I mean, not funny. I mean, I don't know.
But after 20 years, you'd think like,
yeah, right.
Surely there's a bit where you slow down, but
yeah, I don't think so. I think as I'm maturing like a fine wine, dude.
Yeah, you should though. Like every other sport. I mean, that's what was kind of annoying about the talks of you going to MotoGP. Like, oh, that he's older. It's like, fuck.
Right.
What sport is a 27-year-old too old to be in the show? Like that is
It's messed up, man.
crazy shit. Like look at Tom Brady. Look at like there's all of these other careers where that like you just don't hit your prime until you're 30, even physically.
Yeah,
you know?
honestly. And I find myself now these days, I'm always rooting for like the older dude in sports. I'm like, yeah, you go, dude. You got it. That arm is fresh.
Never retire, bro.
Never retire.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, yeah, there's some guys that are just so good. I mean, like, do you watch NFL?
Yeah.
You know, like the Bills and Josh Allen.
That's my guy.
Dude, I'm so pissed about what happened.
I know.
I don't want the Chiefs, man. I don't even know if I'm going to watch the Super Bowl.
Fuck, we were just talking about that. I mean, we got to watch the Super Bowl.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, but I'm going to begrudgingly watch it.
Yeah, right? I was so bummed. There were some calls in there that were not right.
I just also think that Andy Reid is so fucking good at calling plays.
Yeah.
And then he's got a guy that can
he's the coach, right?
Yeah, they're just so hard to beat. There were some calls that the Bills went with that I was like, I mean, obviously, I don't know shit. But
I'm going to throw a disclaimer. I just now am really getting into the NFL. My team owner is knows somebody knows the coach at the Rams, Sean McVay, and he brought me out to a game after I broke my wrist in like October or something. And I was like there and I was looking, I was like, this is the most American sport I've ever seen. Why have I not been watching this? This is incredible. I feel so patriotic watching this. Like national anthem going on. I was like, I got to start watching this. So I'm fairly new to it. Like I always watch the Super Bowl, but now I'm like, you know, like my girlfriend's like, we're at night and I'm like watching old reruns of old games and stuff. She's like, what the hell? This
Who
is so
are you, bro?
Like, I don't even know you anymore.
Yeah, you've changed. So why Josh Allen though? How did you get to the Bills on your own?
I don't know, man. It's a funny thing, right? Why do people get into a certain team or why do they get attached to a certain player or athlete or whatever? Something about I had heard how he was maybe like had a lot of seasons and then now is just reaching his prime and like I saw his age and I was like, wow, that's pretty sick. And then I saw he was playing too. And I loved the fact that like, you know, in like ball sports, you kind of see a lot of people just like using the rules to help them. You know, like in soccer, I can't stand watching soccer.
That's
dude.
the
They
worst.
fall over and shit. And basketball now has become like that. But I'd see this dude, he'd just run the ball himself a bunch of times, like just another player. You know, he doesn't have to throw it off or.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of threw some bad throws, but I don't know. I just liked it, and I liked the way they were connected as a team. It just seemed cool. I like the name. I don't know. I like the colors too.
Yeah, that's all important.
It's all part of it. It's the whole thing, man. So,
have you ever watched the ESPN doco, The Four Falls of Buffalo?
I haven't, no.
Bro, have you ever watched that? Mate, this is one. So yeah, this is one of like the great documentaries in sports. So Buffalo have a wild history, dude. They've never won a Super Bowl.
Really?
And they went, was it 3 or 4 years in a row and lost in the Super Bowl?
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was Four Falls, like because they're right on Niagara Falls. And then this is
Whoa.
yeah.
I got something to watch later tonight.
Brother, you will love this.
All right.
It signifies, like, the cool thing about the Bills, this is just to go off on a tangent. The cool thing about the Bills is they play in the most fucked up place in America.
Really?
You know, in terms of like the weather,
Yeah.
like notoriously like the coldest and the worst games are played in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And so like just that perseverance and the fans, like if you're a Buffalo fan, you've basically just got to like be
Endure
a fucking
it.
seal, you know? So it's like that whole spirit of
That's cool.
that's one of the things that also, so like when you understand their history,
Yeah.
where they have to play.
See,
and
I
think-
knew I was tapped into something,
Yeah,
man. I knew it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
The energy there. So
Yeah.
now yeah, they're cool. But I don't really follow a lot of other sports. Like even motorsport, man. I don't really watch like a lot of motorsport. I don't know. If I'm not racing it, it just feels like
I get it.
Yeah, you know?
It's just too much.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Supercross, but okay, I'm probably going to piss off some of the motocross people.
Nah, do it. Let's go.
The one thing I can't stand about Supercross sometimes is there'll be a guy out leading by a lot, right? Because like the gaps are easy to create in that,
Yeah.
you know, in the dirt and jumps and stuff. But it just be like some guy charging up and he'll be like catching him. It's coming to the last lap. And I'm like, oh, some crazy battle's about to happen. And then he just passes him. And then sometimes it just like the dude just falls apart and it just goes away. And I'm like, well, what the hell? Why didn't you make some other pass? But you know what I realized? And this was the thing I think I didn't realize about motocross until I went and did more motocross. When you get behind somebody, the roost coming off of them is so painful.
Bad, dude.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's one thing in road racing we do not have to deal with. It's like the actual like rocks being like chucked at you.
Yeah.
And like dudes are not even wearing any protection either, which is wild.
Dude,
you know?
Glen Helen, I did a race in Glen Helen in like March last year. It was the last time I raced. Going up the fucking hill, I was getting destroyed. Like, I literally wanted to pull off the track. I was so fucking over it. And I was like, towards the back of the pack, I was like, I didn't even know I was actually going to race. It was like a Yamaha thing. And I thought it was just like a ride day, but it was a race.
Oh, sick.
So I'm like, fuck. All right. I don't really want to get a good start. I'm just going to circulate, do the laps. And then I was just getting hammered with rocks. And then I was like, all right, I actually just like need to go here so that I can get out of this roost.
Yeah.
And it was just 20 minutes of just getting fucked up. And I saw some pictures the other day and I was like bleeding.
Oh my
just
God.
all over. Oh,
yeah.
it's gnarly. But I think what you're seeing at the higher levels is like fitness coming into like that last 10% of the race.
It's more of a fitness thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so much more about like who can actually put the lap time down. Because you guys are staying on the same. I mean, I guess you're having tire deg.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's probably replace tire degradation with rider fitness at the end of a lap.
This is just why road racing's better, man. Because it's just better racing towards the end, man. That's it.
No,
Plain simple.
For real though. Like, and I think that you guys have probably like tire deg to deal with.
Yeah.
So like if someone's coming up that has like fresher tires, the lap times just go.
To be fair, honestly, the fitness aspect, motocross I think is a lot more physical than road racing. But some of the tracks in the countries we go to, dude, we'll go to like Malaysia or Thailand and we're wearing these like, you know, it's like you're going outside wearing full leather suit, boots, gloves, and helmet. And
in 45 degrees. Well, like Celsius.
Yeah, Celsius.
110.
That's
whatever.
fine. Don't worry. I've been in Europe enough. I know that.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, it's safe zone.
Yeah, safe zone. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But dude, you'll be like riding down, like in Thailand or something. You'll be riding down the straightaway, and it's like there's long straightaways there. You'd be like, this would be my chance to have a breather. But it's like a hairdryer blowing at you. You know, there's just like there's no chance to cool off, and like we always have like water systems and stuff we drink. I remember the first time I got one of those at Malaysia, the first year I went there. Dude, it was so hot. And also just having like, there's something about it, like having like the nozzle in your mouth just makes you want to like drink out of it like a lot. You know what I mean? You're just like, the first lap, it was like adrenaline and like all this, you know, all these riders around me. I'm like anxiously like sipping away at all my water. And then I came to the end of the race, dude, and I was like so dehydrated and so overheated. And I was like getting dizzy, man. Like I was going down the straightaway, like sitting up for the braking, and it was like moving like my vision. I was like, damn, this is scary. But then I ended up going quicker that way. So I don't know. Maybe there's something there, you know?
Well, I think that the mental concentration that you guys have, like the days that I've done track days, I've gone home so mentally drained.
Yeah.
Just like tank empty. And I think it's just focus, like the amount of concentration and maybe it's just like speed, you know, like you're just processing. Like I think for your brain to have to process, like we are not made to go 300 plus kilometers an hour. And the way that your brain has to process those things coming at you, like that has to just completely drain you.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing that's funny about that is, I was talking to somebody about this recently, is your vision and where you look to the track changes the speed so much. I always use this example, like if you're going down a freeway and you look at the lines going past you, like straight down, it looks like whoosh, like really quick. But if you pick your eyes up, you can spot them all coming. It's kind of like it gives you this sense of like everything's slow.
Yeah.
And generally we're on tracks that are pretty wide, so it actually doesn't really feel that fast. The way you know you're going fast is when you come off and you're sliding down the track and you're like, oh, this is actually really quick, you know. But yeah, no, the concentration and the focus. I mean, the thing you have to think about too is like where the differences between each rider is like sometimes, especially in Moto2, and now MotoGP is like this, but Moto2, it's like top 10 is separated by 0.2 of a second.
It's ridiculous.
0.2 is nothing.
No,
it's nothing. It's like a little bit in each corner, but in your mind, you're like, damn, 0.2, I'm so freaking slow right now. What the hell, you know? Or even let's just say a second. A second is really not that much. You know, you could, especially on a big track, you could make up a second. But in your mind, a second's so big. And we're constantly thinking about the little details, you know, like how you're braking makes a big difference. Where you're opening the throttle makes a big difference. And there's so many things you have to do. I mean, just after a weekend, I'm so like mentally drained more than physical.
for sure.
Yeah. Like mentally, I'm like the Monday, like my brother was like, you know, he's not even riding. And he was like, dude, this is insane that you're how mentally drained I feel just being part of this whole circus, you know? And yeah, so that's really the main thing is just like all the different things going on. And the start of a race too is so hectic too. You've got like all these guys around you and yeah, but it's sick. It's really cool.
Yeah. Dude, your start at Mugello was hectic. Like I rewatched that race this morning and just, man, 4 dudes, 4 wide, and just like one dude is making the ballsier play going into that first turn out of 4 really, really elite guys. You know, that's such a hectic decision-making process.
Yeah. I mean, all the guys I raced against are incredible motorcycle riders. And yeah, so, but you can't look at them like that. You're like, you're just another guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you have to feel like you're better than them. But yeah, that start was sick. I remember we worked so hard on the launch control that weekend and came up with this new strategy. I've been struggling with my starts all season, but it was just that locked in feeling. And I was like, no, I'm going. But I don't know. It's funny too. There's this kind of thing I've been thinking a lot about is like talking about like the focus and the how focused you have to be on a race weekend and what that does for you mentally and like the personality you have. I noticed like people talk a lot about like the difference between the riders nowadays and like, you know, the guys like from like Rossi's era where you had these big personalities and stuff. I feel like these days it's like it's so much focus put in because there's so many little details you have to be focused on and all the other distractions. I could see why a lot of riders feel like closed off. They don't want to speak. They want to keep themselves contained in this like bubble.
Yeah, your little protected space.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of the personalities have kind of gone down a little bit, you know, or they're just boring. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard one, because like, especially in my business, I'm in like literally in the personality business. Like I'm trying to have this conversation where people get to know you, but you can see why people don't have these and people like the sport wants the big personalities and the sport was the biggest when it was a Rossi. And then you had the Rossi and the Stone. And not that Casey was a big personality, but it was almost like the antithesis.
But he was like, it was all part of it. Like he had a voice though. He would speak out. And even if people didn't like it, he still had a voice. And like, I feel like there's this like fear of speaking out these days. Cause you're like, what is this going to come back? Or for me, it's like, I just don't want that negative energy distracting me from what I got to go do right now, you know?
Yeah, but I think that you're right. Like a lot of the guys just aren't willing to step out of the box. And again, like some people, they want to be so, you know, focused and so in that zone that anything else is just going to be too big of a distraction. But it's not very safe You know, like you step outside and you show your personality, you're going to immediately attract attention, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like there's such an economy around attention, but then that attention can also be quite negative if you don't have the tools to block it out, or if it's going to take too much of your energy to block it out. You know,
I also think there's just some guys that are just, they can't help but be interesting. Like Rossi is just like, I mean,
yeah, he's just a cool cat.
he's just so interesting. You just look at him, the way he conducts himself, you're like, I just love this guy. He's so interesting. And like, he doesn't even speak English that well, you know, but the way he speaks English, you're just like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny, like Marquez too. I don't know if I think off the track Marquez is such a big personality or super interesting. You know, like I feel like he's more, his personality is shown on the track.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
More like
him,
an artist, kind of.
Yeah, and like comparing him to the other, like what you're saying, it's like the whole show of it. It was like him against Rossi. That was so interesting. Or him against Lorenzo. Or like even Lorenzo, like, I mean, I don't know, just, or actually Danny Pedrosa is a good example. I was such a big Danny Pedrosa fan, but he's not that interesting to listen to. Do you know what I mean? He's very monotone the way he spoke, but just the way he rides, and like, I think it was just the collection of all the different riders racing against each other made it so interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
In that era.
In that era. Like that's the era I grew up watching. You know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, and what do you think now? Because, I mean, I'm definitely of the opinion that the guys now aren't super interesting, or they're not very outspoken. Or, it doesn't have the same type of feeling. And I don't hold that against anybody. And for the reasons that we spoke about, like I can see why they don't. But it doesn't have that feeling that it used to.
I don't know. I have some theories, but I don't know if I'm right. It feels to me everyone's kind of this new era of like social media and like trends and everyone following each other. And like there was this thing like, you know, the training camps, everyone went and did the same thing. They're all buddies with each other, especially like the Spanish. And it's just too Spanish maybe. You need more international, man.
No, I agree. I agree with that as well.
But, you know, I think there's also this thing like when you have different people from different backgrounds, they bring something from themselves, you know, to the sport. And, you know, a guy from America is going to be different than someone who's raised in Spain. It's just going to be different. Yeah. And you're going to see those different personalities. And not that it's anything wrong having Spanish, because I love the Spanish riders. Like, I mean, Marquez is probably like riding technique and just his whole story with his, you know, when he came back from his injury is the most inspiring thing ever. I'm such a huge Marquez fan. And a lot of these Spanish riders and Italian riders are just incredible riders. But yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, MotoGP's a show. It's an entertainment show, like for the viewer. You know, for us, it's our like life. It's what we want. But if you're selling it to an audience and you want to create some sort of entertainment aspect to it, and I personally think there needs to be, and maybe obviously I'm biased because I'm racing and I'd like to be in MotoGP, but just honestly speaking, as a fan of the sport, it'd be nice to see more personalities and like different countries and stuff like that. Like more British, you know, Cal Crutchlow, such an interesting character. I miss him in the sport, honestly, like his openness and he wasn't always even the best guy. I feel like also these like, he just was like, he's a very good rider and could win on his day, but he was just a crazy cool personality. And I think he was really crucial for the sport too.
Yeah.
Or like Colin Edwards.
Yeah.
You know, like he never won a race, but he was in it for so long because he's just such an interesting person. You can't help but root for him too. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you should hire people that aren't good because they're interesting, but you know, right now this sport is so competitive and there's so many riders that are so good, especially in Moto2, that like if you gave them a chance, I think they would show what they could do. Yeah. You know, like the difference is we're talking about tenths here. You know, it's like, I don't know. I think that's something that's needed is diversity in the nationalities, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's one thing, I mean, you see it in F1 too. You know, like there really isn't personalities in F1. Like really, you know, I think that, who's the most personable F1 driver?
I probably like Lewis Hamilton. I
Yeah,
think
but
he's the
is
most
he-
like different.
Does
you
he
know?
have any personality?
I don't know. I don't really watch Formula One to be honest.
Fair, okay. But I mean, I feel like Lewis like doesn't exactly have any personality. His personality is more like the clothes that he wears, who he's dating, how much money he makes. Like,
no, I know. Back in the day, even in like old F1, like Schumacher, like he was such a character. The way he dressed and all these things, the things he'd do. Like, dude, I miss that. Like, I miss like the early 2000 looks and like people.
yeah,
The way they conducted themselves, it was just like a cool era.
yeah.
I feel like we're just caught up in like the trends and all the things now with like, I'm gonna sound like an old guy, but like TikTok and Instagram, like
Fully with you.
and like always like the thing to connect with people. I feel like as like and I'm not bashing like the social media people and you know MotoGP or things like that. I know everyone's pushing to try to make it you know connectable, but I feel like it's just like, well, what's the latest trend in Instagram? Let's replicate that. But sometimes it's like even like I feel like Europe gets like these trends like 4 years later than what America has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's people doing like the flip cup or the bottle flip thing.
Yeah, like we probably just don't need that like
it's
at all.
Come on, we don't need to do that. You
Yeah.
know, I loved like stuff like I was talking to Mark Neal from Faster. Do you know that movie?
Yeah.
Dude, that movie to me was so like inspiring as a young rider, and just like the cinematography. Thank you.
Yeah.
That aspect, like showing like a movie aspect to what we do and building a character is so like important, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, and it's not even like in Formula One, it's a perfect example that the whole Netflix show, you take some, these drivers that all kind of do the same thing, you know, probably off the track doing the same type of thing. Very similar. But you create kind of these like story behind it all, and you've made it interesting and connectable, especially in like, if the market is America, that is what people in America, we're like, we watch movies, we watch all these things. This is like where it's all from.
Yeah.
That's what we're searching for, is like a story to connect to.
And like character development, you know, like I think one of the things, this might be kind of what you're saying in a way, like I know Jack very well, Miller personally, right? That he's a crazy fucking dude.
Yeah.
Like he's a very wild guy in terms of like the things that he's into, the way he grew up. Like his story is crazy, and people like don't really know it. They don't really get to see it. And then anytime he's gone out and like kind of had his like he even speaks to the media in like this European accent.
I know.
And it's just like, he's the fucking
Yeah.
biggest bogan in the best way. Like he's
Yeah.
from way up north, lives on a farm, like cattle on his property. Like, so the boxes that people naturally, they're either put in or they fall in, or they want to just like get in line to not rock the boat. Like whatever it is that funnels in the big personality into like the little box. And it's like, maybe that's kind of just what's happening with everybody, is that they're all just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Just fall in. I'll just fall into my box.
Yeah.
I'll speak in my Euro accent, and I'll just kind of get in line. And maybe that's just this like natural thing that, because the sport doesn't celebrate or isn't like actively trying, like, I don't know, maybe Fabio Quartararo is like way different than what we see, but because of the Instagram and the social media and the way that the media treats people if they say one thing or the other, you know, like you kind of need these dudes that are just like, fuck it, I'm just going to be myself.
But it's also the way you capture that.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like how if you were to come to me and ask me some of the most generic questions, you'd get generic answers.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
For
you kind
sure.
of have to like capture people when they're not looking, or like get those angles that maybe those riders don't want to be shown, you know? And that's
For
that's what creates that kind of story, in my opinion.
Well, so with Netflix, the Drive to Survive, the like Liberty didn't have any say over the edit.
Oh, really?
So like they were in the field, in the paddock, and like no one gave them the permission, the edit, like green light, this is good to go.
Yeah.
So there was like a ton of shit in there that like people didn't necessarily, they wouldn't necessarily have wanted to share or show.
Yeah.
But those are all of the things that made it worth watching. And I think they kind of like learned that lesson. They learned the hard lesson that, the polished, perfect narrative that we're like trying to portray for our sport is safe and boring and no one actually gives a fuck.
No.
It wasn't until, like you said, when people aren't looking, oh no, we're going to keep that in because we can keep that in. And like, I mean, MotoGP tried it with the Amazon series that they did, and it was just like,
yeah, I didn't watch it, honestly.
Of course you didn't.
Well, yeah, I don't know. And that's like, I just don't always get into like, unless I'm not in it, man. If I'm in it, I'll watch it. If not, then no, you're right, man. And I think I think the Netflix thing, the F1, the most interesting people were like the team managers, right?
Yeah.
Like those are the most interesting people, but they were of a different time. Maybe this generation's just too soft, man. Maybe we're just too like.
Maybe. No, you could.
I don't know.
That could be it.
Maybe we need some people. I don't know. Maybe the next generation will be a lot more interesting. Who knows?
Well, I know that Liberty, like the whole Liberty MotoGP, like, I think it's got to go through a bit of a process to like. Have you been following any of the?
Like loosely, yeah. People kind of been telling me a little bit about there's some sort of thing like you can't.
It's like an antitrust thing, I think, to where it's like they don't want
like a monopoly, right?
Yeah, they're trying to prevent a monopoly, but it's like the top things kind of are a monopoly.
Wow.
Like you can't avoid it. Like that's what capitalism like kind of.
Yeah, if we want to talk about that, I mean, like America is all owned by like a couple companies. You know? Right. So I don't know if we want to dive into politics here, but
you can talk about whatever you want, bro.
Seed oils, dude. What do you think about that?
It's a red 40. Let's get it out now.
Let's get it out.
But I mean, I think that's like one of the things with this too, right? Is like you put it's long. You just talk for hours. You don't know what you're going to fucking talk about. Like you end up seeing like the real, you can't not be yourself in something like this, you know, which is, again, superficial questions, superficial answers, superficial trends, like just all of those cookie cutter things. Like you're just not going to get. Yeah. You're not going to get anything with that.
No. I mean, do you know about the whole seed oil thing?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. It's terrible, dude.
Enlighten me. More than what I already am.
We might want to show a video of it, but the way that like you make canola oil is insane. And there's like this old video from like, I don't know what year it's from that they made this video, but they like talk about how healthy it is for you. Like, it's got all these good omegas and
like fucking cigarettes back in the day.
Right. And then you look at how they make it and you're like, what the hell? This looks like some like industrial.
Pull up a video of how they make canola oil.
How they make canola oil. Yeah. It's insane, dude. And like, they like use chemicals to wash the grapeseed or whatever. And you're like, yeah, I'm eating that. That's insane. You know, but yeah, you'll see. It's just like wild.
Yeah, so what do you have?
So there's this guy I follow called Paul Saladino.
Do you know him? Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
So he's kind of like his whole thing is like eating. Yeah, look at this, dude.
That looks like fuel, bro.
Look, dude, this looks like Mordor in like Lord of the Rings or something. They're like, like, what is this, man?
But look at that. That looks like fuel. That doesn't look like. I mean, I'm just a big extra virgin olive oil guy.
Right.
You know, just like give me some old shit that's like made right near Mugello.
Look at this. This is disgusting. Who would do that?
Yeah, I mean.
Who's putting canola oil in their salad, man?
That's a bit too much, too.
And then watch this, the way they make this. Is this a tuna or is it a steak?
Yeah.
It's like the worst way to make a steak. It's like not even hot.
Yeah, bake the pan hot, bro.
Look, that's not even a good sear. What are you doing?
Fuck. This is trash.
You kind of have to listen to audio how they do it, but it's like
turn it up, turn the audio up. Oh yeah, go to sound and go Scarlet. There we go. Yeah.
Seed in a vibrating sieve. The seeds, smaller than the openings in the sieve's mesh, fall through to a conveyor below.
It's a grapeseed oil.
Yeah, look at this. Wait, you'll see.
Where it's collected for sale as cattle feed. The seeds pass by a magnet. It removes any metal that may have fallen
Oh.
in during the journey from field
Cool.
to factory.
That's sick. Wait, you'll see it, man.
Next, the seeds enter a roller mill. They pass between two steel rollers, which crush them into thin flakes.
People are like, what the hell is Joe on about right now?
A conveyor then feeds the flakes into a screw press. It has a large revolving screw shaft.
Look at that. What the hell is that?
Yeah, that's
within a
fucked up.
slotted cage. As the shaft turns,
Looks disgusting.
its threads squeeze
And then
the
they
flakes
wash
with
it in this
high
like
pressure,
chemical thing
forcing out
too.
the oil, which then drains out through the slots. 42% of canola seed is oil. This screw press extracts nearly 3/4 of that.
Yeah, this is
Nectar
gross.
Still trapped in the pressed flakes, now referred to as canola cake. The cake exits the other end of the press.
Looks
and
like
moves on to
hash.
a second extraction.
I wouldn't know what that looks like.
This one, a 7-minute wash with a solvent.
A solvent.
A solvent, what is that?
Process removes
Anyways,
all but a
that's
trace.
basically the whole deal there. And
yeah,
like
it's fucking gross.
so I don't have this app called Seed Oil Scout.
Yeah.
And like I'd like look at they'll tell you what restaurants use this stuff, and like, man, it's insane. Like, have you ever noticed like when you go to Europe how much cleaner and like how much
Oh.
better you feel eating the
I
food there?
grew up in Australia.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So like here, dude, like I feel like I come home and I feel like so bloated. I feel
Yep.
like heavier in general, and just like eating out here, I feel terrible. And like there's all this stuff coming out now about this, seed oils and everything and how bad it is for you and cancer causing. I mean, I don't want something that's been like washed in chemicals.
No.
I'll take like, how they make wine, like some dude stepping on grapes,
Yeah.
I'll take that over.
Yeah, well, and that's the same as like really good Italian olive oil. Like,
Yeah.
why are we not using? Why use anything other than that?
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
just cheaper and
honestly though, I've been finding out like olive oil, if you don't get like super high quality stuff, it's like cut with this.
yeah. No, you just got to go expensive
Yeah.
olive oil from a good like a Sprouts or something like that.
Right. Do you go to Erewhon?
Nah, what's that?
You don't know Erewhon?
Nah.
It's like the LA kind of
Oh,
hip.
I'm in like San Clemente though.
Okay.
don't
Yeah,
know
they
if
don't
we-
have it down here yet, but it's coming. It's coming for you for sure.
Yeah,
But
right. Dude, my wife is just like all about the food dyes.
really,
Just no food
Yeah.
dyes. But we don't eat. I mean, I'm lucky because she cooks everything. Like, we very rarely eat out. And if we eat out, it's like a faux place with a bunch of like 20 Vietnamese people that
Yeah.
are living and working there,
yeah.
But yeah, the food here, it's a real struggle.
Yeah, I hope it changes, man.
I ate at Chili's last Friday night, and it was a pretty heavy experience.
It's the seed oils, man. I'm telling you.
How long you been on that way for?
That's kind of been more of a recent thing that I've figured out. But yeah, just trying to understand why, when I come home, I feel like worse,
Well, it's a big thing when you go other places,
Yeah.
especially like, I mean, the statistics on Americans that have passports, I think it's like less than half of Americans even have a passport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look that up real quick. Like, what percentage of Americans have passports? Yeah, there you go. 50%.
That's crazy.
Up from, so 46% in 2023. So less than half of Americans even have a passport. So like, how are you supposed to know
Yeah.
any better if you don't travel?
Right.
It's one of the things that, I mean, I've talked about it a bunch on here, but I get so frustrated. Like, I love America.
Yeah.
It's a great country.
Yeah.
Has flaws like everywhere in the world. But until you've gone to like Laos and seen the poverty, or you go to Bali and
Yeah.
you go just outside the main like Canggu where the tourists,
Yeah.
and you see like the real poverty and like the lack of freedom
Yeah.
that
I
people
know.
have, I'm like, fuck.
It's
You
crazy.
get to live the dream here.
I know people in LA especially are just like complain about America and how bad it is. And like you said, there's some stuff that's not great always everywhere. But I mean, dude, I think it's the best country in the world. Still the most free place you can be,
Dude, for sure.
and like you said, going to other countries, you see that, like even Europe too. Like I feel like even in England now, There's like stuff where you can't speak. There's like hate speech stuff.
Yeah.
You can't say racist things online. If you do, you get arrested, which obviously, like in theory, that's great, you know? But then you're yeah, obviously you don't want people just out there like bashing people for no reason. But like you just limited free speech. And that's like a tricky kind of thing that people are always managing, you know?
Yeah, because then who's the judge? Who's the jury?
Yeah.
Like, I think the thing that I like fundamentally always go back to, good ideas should beat bad ideas. Racism, terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to explain to a person, like you should be educated enough as like either if it's like me and you or if it's like the government or society to the population, like you should be able to beat a bad idea with a good idea pretty easily. And there's like really complex ideas where that becomes like kind of a struggle and there's some back and forth, but like racism, like, you know, there's some key issues, again, freedom of speech. There's some shit where it's like, you should be able to explain in a pretty easy way why hating somebody for the color of their skin is like not the move.
No,
just like
for
not a
sure.
smart idea, you know?
I think there's like this common thing with like, you know, trying to fix the world and fix all the issues. It's like some things just like you can't fix, you know? And I feel like everyone's always involved like in everyone else's business, like trying to like fix everything. And it's like, well, why don't you just be the best version of yourself and set an example and see what that effect that has on others? And maybe that will, it's like a domino effect. You like raise your kids right, they'll raise their kids right. You know, it's just, that's how you build a good society. It's like, I don't know. There's some people like with the homeless population too. Like there's some of those homeless guys are just like so out of their mind. They're never coming back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't like rehabilitate some of these people. Like they're so badly damaged that they're just, you know, they're too far gone, I think.
Oh, I completely agree.
I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seems like that anytime you've seen some of them.
Well, and there's a friend of my wife has a friend and her mum had schizophrenia and they couldn't even hospitalize her.
Really?
You know what I mean? So it's like you have a person that has it so bad that even when you give them care and you give them the treatment, it's just not going to happen. And I think that a lot of the people that you see on that bad, like on the fringe that bad, it's like, there's not much you can do for that person. And then if you do help and they don't want your help, again, like what do you do to a person that is like in that place? Like you're so, there's like this at the bottom, right? You have to have, there's like this reality. And we all should try and live as close to like reality as possible. And then there's people that have like terrible ideas or like live a certain way. And it's like, bro, you're not in the same reality that the rest of us are in.
Yeah.
So it's like you either got to step into this or if you're out there and you can't come into like the sane world, sorry, bro. Like, there's got to be that. There's got to be a level of that, you know?
Yeah, just like a higher civilization, and you operate in that. And anyone else is just like, okay, you're you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard, man. I don't know all the answers, but my kind of motto and way I like to live my life is just, I don't like a lot of government control. I don't like to be, you know, have to follow some sort of guidelines for some other thing that I don't even resonate with. I don't want to be dealing with that. I just want to live the life I want to. I want my environment to be healthy. I don't want like to live in a toxic chemical environment. So I'm kind of common. It's hard nowadays too with like, you think about like all the plastics we're exposed to and all those things. And it's, I don't know, man. I don't know what do you think is the future of humanity in 100 years? Like all these things.
Are you up on like any of the AI stuff?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that's like, fuck. It's just like, is it Moore's law where it's just like technology just keeps going? Like, I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't see the world, but it could be so good. Like
it could be cool. You know, it's funny. I kind of like robots, man. You know, there's like little delivery robots you see on the like sidewalk.
Yep.
I kind of feel like they have like a little personality. You know,
yeah.
I saw one get hit by a car and I felt bad for it.
Where did you see that?
I don't know, on YouTube. I saw it.
Oh, I thought you saw it in real life.
No,
I feel
I
bad
didn't
for that shit too.
I'm like, oh man, and it just like sat there, it was like stunned. I was like, oh my God, I just got hit by a car. I'm just imagining this whole thing is coming through.
Oh, that's so good. We were just in Phoenix for Supercross, and there was all what do they call Waco? Wayo?
Oh, Waymo.
Waymo.
Yeah,
the taxis,
dude.
bro.
I won't get in one of those.
Oh, I'm there.
Are you in it?
I didn't get in it, but like, I want that.
Really?
I want to live in that world.
Dude, but you know, like those things are sketchy, man. Like,
Are they actually?
They'll just like drive straight through like car crash wrecks with like debris everywhere. They won't like stop.
No shit.
Or like, I saw this one video of this like woman. She was in a car and like turning left into oncoming traffic, and it was like these cars coming. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna let that one sit for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Let it work out the kinks a little bit, and then I'll get inside.
Yeah, I ain't getting the first Neuralink.
Are you're about the Neuralink?
But at some point, like, give me it'd be like having a flip phone versus a Apple iPhone 16. Like, there's such a big difference in those two products.
But I'm thinking, like, what about those the radiation, all those things? How's that gonna affect me?
Don't know.
What about how about this? What if like you got to the end of your life, right? You're like 90 years old, and someone says to you, "Hey, we can take your consciousness and put it in a 25-year-old version of yourself." It's like it's a robot.
Yeah.
With skin, right? What do they call those? Like
a cyborg or
right?
Yeah.
And you can restart your life like that. You'll still have the same consciousness. Would you go for that?
Would you have the same memories?
Same memories.
I mean, would you not?
I don't know. I guess it's just if you believe, like, what do you believe after you die? Do you move on?
I think you stop.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think I'm kind of the mind that we continue on. We embody another body, reincarnation type stuff. Or maybe we like expand to a different universe.
I mean, I think
I feel very spiritual.
Yeah,
I'm connected to like a universe and like that kind of, I always feel like I'm connected to some sort of universe.
And I'm fully down with that.
Okay.
Because I could be wrong. But I'm living my life like I'm going to stop.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's a good way to live.
Yeah. And if there is something and there's somewhere that, and so, all right, this is my overall thing, right? I'm living like I'm going to stop, but I'm also living like how I would need to live if there is something else.
You're kind of playing both sides. Yeah,
because that's real. Like, what's religion really trying to do? Like, there's two things with religion or spirituality, right? There's this existential fear that once my time on earth is done, once my consciousness is no longer implemented, that's it. And it's over. Because I don't know what happened before I was born. That's all black.
Right.
So it's like, before I was born, I was essentially dead. And then after I'm dead, would be just like before I was born, right? That makes people shit themselves.
Yeah, totally. Because you don't want to feel like that's it. We're just this.
Well, it makes you feel pointless and meaningless, and what's the point of life? And then you get into this whole nihilism journey.
Right.
So then religion offers an out.
It does.
Religion says to you that, hey, if you live like a good little boy, then there'll be something extra. And the thing that's extra, that's eternal. And once you've lived a good life and once you did the things that you were supposed to do here, then you don't ever have to worry about dying. You're in the best place, fucking cheering. So like religion wants you to live this specific way so that you have a good life essentially. And then your reward for living a good life is another life that doesn't end. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to accept the fact that I'll just fucking stop, but I'll live the way that one would want to live if there was. But I don't believe that there's anything left. So in that scenario, I would probably upload my consciousness.
Okay, there you go. That's the answer. Yeah, I mean, it's funny with religion. I also feel like it's a way to have some accountability in your life. Mm-hmm. Like something to go off of, bounce off of. You're like, oh, I can't do that because of this. So I'm not a super religious person, but like I feel like a spiritual person, Dude, I feel like I have a memory of a past life even.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it like?
I think I got mauled by a bear once.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you?
I don't know. I was in the woods.
Your English heritage, right?
Yeah, my parents are British.
Okay.
So maybe I was somewhere in England when they had bears.
Yeah,
They had bears.
They
at
had
one-
bears, dude. They for sure had bears.
But I was born here. So like where, at what point did my consciousness enter the body in my mom, Was it in England? Was I floating around England, or was I here in America and I just like that moment that I was born, I just jumped in?
So where you were born here,
Yeah.
your mum was pregnant with you in the UK?
Yeah. So I have, both my parents are British actually. So, it's me and my younger brother are the only Americans
of the
yeah,
family.
we're immigrant family actually.
Yeah.
From England, which doesn't,
Consciousness is the thing that people should be the most interested in their life.
Can I say that? Can I say that we're an immigrant family?
For sure. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Or is that, I don't know why I feel like that's like,
Nah.
Anyways.
Nah. I'm an immigrant. My wife's an immigrant.
Yeah. So, no, it is funny though. Like my whole life, like my parents don't even seem that British, which is funny. I never could figure out my dad because like I spent a lot of time around British people and they all kind of have a similar way of like talking, like that self-deprecating kind of talk. And my dad's not really like that. And I realized recently where my dad gets his kind of personality from, and it's Australia. Because my dad's dad is Australian, and I have tons of family from Australia.
No way.
Yeah. So like my whole dad's side of the family is Australian, and I went to Australia, and the way they were speaking, I was like, "Oh, this is literally my dad. This is the way he is." So
that's so cool.
Yeah. So I got like a little bit of that kind of Australian thing as well.
Yeah.
But
what do you think is the difference between Australians and Brits?
that's a hard question to answer, honestly.
They're very close, but very different at the same time.
There's some similarities, but it's like a lightness to Australia a little bit more than. But then also they're kind of like hard on you too in Australia. They don't they're very similar. I don't know. It's like that tall poppy syndrome. They don't let you get too high. I don't know if you've probably had that, right?
Oh yeah. Ask Alex living in.
See, like in America, it's not that.
Nah, dude.
And people are threatened by that, I think, especially in Europe. You come over here with this like big personality. You're like, yeah, we're the shit. We're from America. And people are like,
Yeah.
So.
No, it's very real. So like in Australia, you're just like shitting on your mates like 24/7 and like cutting them down in a way. Like that, there's like this. In Australia, you learn by people calling you out for your shit. And it's like very direct. There's no weird, oh, hey man, like you're doing this. But, like Alex, this is an example, right? So Alex has been working for me since he was 16 and he's 20 now, right? So we've been around each other a while. That he's living at my house and he'll get up gets up in the morning. Or this perfect example, opens up the dishwasher, puts his head in the dishwasher, and he's like, "Is this dirty?" And I'm like, "I don't know, bro. Your fucking head's in the and it's just that in your face, like very direct. And there's just every point in your life in Australia, if you're around like a good group of people, they will just call you out and just rinse you. And you can't take offense to it.
No.
Like that's like the Aussie way. If you take offense, if you get defensive and if you carry on about it, then like you lose.
Me and my brothers are kind of like, I have 3 brothers and it's kind of similar thing. But I think we're also like a mix of America, so we also get a little offended. I'm like, fuck you, dude. What the hell you can say that to me for? It's like always this like thing we have to like resolve it, Whereas
Australians, it's just like it's brutal.
It's brutal, dude.
Yeah,
you guys are. It doesn't bum you out though. It's just
never.
Like really. That's cool. And I like that.
But it's like
a hardness to enter life. It's like things just wash over you.
Yeah, but that's how you know that someone likes you.
Oh, really?
Because if I didn't care, that would be the biggest problem. Like if I didn't call you out on your shit, then that would mean I literally don't care about your human development.
It's cultural differences, man.
Yeah. But I think that in the UK, they've got that a bit, but it's very like self-deprecating. I think it's more self-deprecating than Australian.
For sure.
Than Australian people. But the UK is just like grim and cold and dreary
Yeah.
and negative, and like there's like scars of the past
Yeah.
in the UK.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and Australia just doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's
So
a
I
little bit more
think-
lightness. You guys you love your environment, you know? You got
Well, we have more of it.
Yeah, yeah,
we
for
got
sure.
sun and beaches, and
Yeah.
you know.
No,
Well,
what do they have, like sun lamps in England?
what's that?
You know about sun lamps?
Nah.
It's like during the winter months when it's just so gray, people getting like you need vitamin D.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
have like these sun lamps to make them feel warm, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Bro, we were a friend of the other dude that works for us. He went to London for like 2 weeks
Hmm.
and was like, "No,
Doesn't like it?
that's it. Can't
See,
do it."
I lived there for like 2 years and I liked it. I like London, but I have a connection with England still.
What about the weather though? Did it get down on like?
No, because I mean, I wasn't really there in like the worst months. You know, I'd get there in like April and then I'd leave in September. So I'd get like that nice little.
You get the window.
Yeah, I mean, it still was some, dark days, but I don't mind the rain from time to time. But so I just like that. It's a cool city. I'm like kind of a
It's
city
unreal.
kid, you know?
Yeah.
I like that whole thing and going to see live bands and you know, yeah, it's a cool place.
The food, the culture.
The food, yeah, the food's not bad. Sometimes British food is kind of not great, but I like British food. You know, my favorite thing is like Sunday roast, which you guys have in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love a
From
Sunday
the
roast.
carvery.
Yeah, I get like a big piece of meat, like beef or something. Like,
Yeah. Roast beef, gravy,
yeah, gravy.
potatoes.
The way they make potatoes in England, I don't know if you guys do it the same way. It's like you like fluff it up, crisp the outside, but then on the inside it's like mashed potato or something. It's the best thing ever. You dip that in gravy.
Do you ever make it here?
I can't cook that well, man.
Jamie Oliver has like a really good YouTube video
Really?
of like how to make those English
Yeah.
style potatoes.
I kind of have like a setup with my brothers where they'll cook the food and I'll buy it. That's kind of my contribution. I'll buy the food, you guys cook it,
Yeah, that's fair.
you know?
Yeah.
And my brother is a good cook, so
Is it? Hey, responsibilities.
yeah,
We
I'm
all
taking
have
care
different
of payment.
responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, just some chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah. So what's your spiritual? So past life got attacked by a bear.
Yeah,
How do you feel it? You know it? Like,
that I got attacked by a bear.
yeah, like how does that show up?
I don't know. It just feels like it is true,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel some sort of either I'm crazy or I'm just connected to some sort of like, feel like I could see myself in like those times of history, you know? Yeah, I mean, this bear attack, man, it was vivid.
Really?
Yeah, I just like, I was like, okay, you know, like The Revenant?
Yeah, yeah.
This was before that came out. So I'm not tapping into some sort of thing I saw on TV.
But when you saw that, you could relate
I
to
was
that
like,
experience.
damn, that is just what happened to me, man.
That's so good. Look, that's exactly how it went down.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But it felt real. And who knows, man? I'll never know because it's just me. But I remember like having to lay there. I was like, play dead, don't. And then it came back for me. And then finally it left me alone.
Fucking hectic.
And maybe I died in that bear attack. I don't know.
And then became you.
Yeah, but I do have a fear of like wild animals a little bit. Like I'll go mountain biking and up above my house, I live like below, I live in Glendale.
Yeah.
And there's like the Verdugo Mountains there. And I'll go in the summer, I'll go like mountain biking at night by myself.
Oh.
And yeah, dude, sometimes I'll see like eyes looking at me and I'm just like,
Yeah.
pedaling. It's a good way to get like a workout in. You just set your best records going up the hill, you know?
Dude, that's no joke. Like there's definitely cougars and like
Yeah.
there's a ton of shit up there.
And bears now too. Do you see that? There was like a bear after all the wildfires, like in Altadena under somebody's house, like a brown bear.
A brown bear.
I think it was a brown bear, or
No shit.
maybe it was a black bear.
Just a big ass black bear.
Yeah, that's brown. You know, they can be
Yeah,
brown
yeah,
too.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know there was bears too. That's
There's
a whole other thing I had to
every-
think about now.
There's everything out there, bro. I've seen like rattlesnakes and shit on the.
Do
on
not
those.
mess with snakes, dude. I do not like snakes at all. I'm like weirdly fascinated by them. Like sometimes it just like catch me like looking at videos of them and like kind of like freaking out as I'm looking at.
Have you
the
ever held
snakes.
one?
Yeah, I have. I don't like them, man.
They're fucking cool.
They're cool. They're amazing creatures, but just the way they move and the way they look at you, I just don't. It just sparks something in me. I was in Austin once, and like there's like all those rivers you can swim around.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's actually funny, but my brother like pushed me into this river, and I was like, oh, you bastards, and I like came up, and like all of a sudden there's this snake bobbing in my head in front of me.
Really?
And I was like, holy shit, it's like a water moccasin or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think it was just a water snake. And I like froze, and then I started going like this, trying to like get away from it. And then it went like under the water. I was like, oh shit, it's going for like my legs or something. And I swam as fast. My dad was like standing on a rock, and my ex-girlfriend was there, and she was like freaking out. And I was like, move. I like climbed on top of my dad. So I don't like snakes, man. I'm not about them. And like when I'm mountain bike, sometimes I mountain bike like around here, like Laguna Beach and stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Dude, there'll be some of the biggest rattlesnakes, like super fat diamondback in the middle of the trail. And I'll just sit there and just wait for it to just like move along, or you got to go from the back around it, you know.
Yeah, they'll fuck you up.
They'll mess you up, man. I don't mess with that. I don't like snakes.
Yeah, we were saying before about like the whole consciousness thing. I just feel like not many people even think about what consciousness is
Yeah.
and like the role that plays in life. It's like the whole thing, and a lot of people just like never even think about it.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you look up at the stars and you're like, well, how do you see how small and insignificant you are? And you're like, how important is all this, you know?
Well, even just like the fact that you're having this experience, like all of the things that are taking place, like, and I always say like, we think we're looking out of windows in our head.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, there's like light that's coming into your eyes, and then there's photoreceptors, and then they decode that light, and then it is just projected as a dream of like the outside world.
But you know what's crazy is like people have all these wild ideas about the universe and like, you know, how you should conduct yourself, or like, you know, a lot in like therapy too, like how you meditate and all these things. And I feel like people are so quick to write off these bigger picture ideas of who we are and what actually works, or, you know, the energy that in the universe and all these things that happen. And how do people actually know? I think it's almost too big for people to comprehend.
Yes.
You know, that we are these people in this like human beings, you know? It's like you don't even really understand.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend that. You can't, it's like, it's not even worth it either.
Yeah, but I think you're right. It's like it's too big for people to. They're like, fuck it, you know, too much. What and then I think again that's where like religion's kind of just like given to you on a silver platter, where it's like, okay, there was a God, he created it, like, and then if you live like this, yada yada yada, and it's like quite a digestible, you know, easy thing. But I think that there is, if you put enough effort into it, and if you put a lot of thinking into it, there's like a way where you can kind of like get to a ground floor and have like a lot of equanimity in your life around, you know, just the human experience in general, you know. I think it does take like a bit of work and a bit of understanding to actually get there.
Yeah. And there's so many things to like pull you away from yourself. You know what I mean? Like so many distractions these days with like doom scrolling.
Well, you just get on autopilot.
Yeah.
You know, like even, I mean, I would say I'm like a fairly aware person. Like I've put effort into those things, and I could go like a month without thinking about them.
I think a lot of people can't even like confront their own things. You know, it's like too much to confront. Yeah. You know, and it's like deep set things too that just like deep down there that you like push so deep that you're like, someone taps into that. It's like this crazy feeling that overcomes you. You're like, how do I even, what the hell is that? And then you realize where it's coming from, and you're like, that's too much to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you had those experiences?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always trigger points in any point of your life, you know, like a lot of my life is just based around like my career and like things that have happened in my career. You know, that's where the trigger points are for me, but also in life too, you have like little things that have happened, but I don't know. I've not had like any real crazy experiences to, you know, I don't know.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. I feel like I've had a pretty good upbringing. Nothing traumatic, nothing bad. just racing motorcycles. And
In 2022, Eli Tomac made the switch to Yamaha and found instant success on their class-leading YZ450F. Eli Tomac had 3 reasons for making the switch. He wanted power, and the Yamaha has the strongest and most tunable motor in the class. He wanted KYB suspension, and the YZ450F comes stock with his preferred KYB system. And finally, he wanted a cable clutch. Yamaha took the championship-winning YZ450F and made it even better. More powerful, lighter, slimmer, with enhanced overall stability and more agility than ever before. The 2025 YZ450F is available now in both Yamaha Blue, or to really look like Eli Tomac, it's also available in the Monster Energy edition. The pinnacle of off-road 4-stroke performance wrapped in iconic Yamaha racing livery. Head to YamahaMotorsports.com or into your local dealer now. So was it your dad that got you into it?
yeah, so my dad was like big fan. He started riding when in England at Brands Hatch. He used to go out and ride there, and he was always a big fan of World Superbike, like
Yeah.
Carl Fogarty and things like that. And yeah, when he moved to the States in '97, there was like a really good road racing scene up at Willow Springs,
Yeah.
WSMC.
Yeah.
And it was funny. We just dug up these old tapes and stuff of 1999, like him riding his old like Gixxer 750 that Chuck Graves built. Just kind of cool to see. But
That is cool.
yeah, it was sick. Like I'd just been getting all these old videos from when I was a kid recently. But I actually have a video of me riding like flat track at this place called Ken Maley's. It was this old flat track place. This guy Ken Maley used to make the greatest steel shoes ever. Like I have one still from him, and it's better than any steel shoe I've ever had made for me. Like the steel still holds up.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them, they have to like send them back to go get the steel re-put on. But dude, somehow the way he made them was awesome. But I just found like video of that. But yeah, my dad just, was like a big fan of it and liked the sport. And we watched that movie On Any Sunday. That's like ingrained.
The greatest.
Yeah, I think everyone from America grew up riding knows that movie, but it's ingrained in my brain. It's like what made me want to ride motorcycles. It like just showed, that last scene where they're riding in the dunes. That's like freedom right there. It's like, if I die, that's like where I'd like to be.
Yeah, just put you there forever.
Put me there, like that's heaven right there, just riding around with my friends or even by myself, just in the dunes, just having a good time. That would be sick. But yeah, so that's kind of where it all started. And then just, I don't know. It's weird how these things happen. I look at myself, like where I'm at now. And like people ask me all the time, like, how did you get to this level? And I don't even understand. Like I can look back and I can track it all, but there was so much like luck and like things that went into it and just like the right decisions, So like
and even luck in making the right decisions in a way.
Yeah. Like I'll have dads come up to me at the track when their kids there riding and like, how do we, what should we do? And I'm like, dude, I want to help. I'm not like, no, I'd get away from me, but it's just like, I generally don't know where to direct you. I'm like, just keep going. Just keep doing what you're doing and make the right decisions and, hopefully you get to this position, But, I think there are some stuff that needs to be put in place to help riders get to the world level. But
Well, you are the only American right now.
mm-hmm.
So it's like you're a one-of-one kind of guy.
And it's been like that for a while, too. There's been kind of other ones that come over, like Cameron Bobier came over. Sean Kelly too, but yeah, I've been there the longest so far. Just kind of weird. Yeah.
Can you attribute that to anything? Like you just didn't give up on the dream?
I didn't, no.
That's it.
Yeah.
So much of it is just that, right?
Yeah. I've had that in different points in my career too. Like even when I raced in America, it would be like, my dad would be like, I don't even know if we can make this happen this year, like I'd be without a ride and then the last minute something would come up and you just have to like make the most of every opportunity. But there were some years there, man, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get a ride again. And somehow one presented himself. So I consider myself very lucky to still be in the place I'm in and had a lot of people help me get to this point too, Yeah. But I definitely never gave up,
Yeah.
you know. And that was the cool thing about last year. It was like all those years, like I had this thing where, 2020, I had a great season. I got on the podium. I had some good results, and I was kind of building this momentum. I'd finally gotten on a Calyx that year. And like the years before, that's the other thing about my career. Like I started in the championship on a prototype bike, like on this Japanese, it was called NTS. It's made in Japan. And it was fully a prototype bike, like in Moto2. And up against the Calyx, like it wasn't quite as good as that. And then the year after, I went to that KTM, which was the first year of the Triumph. And that KTM that year, do you remember that?
Nah, I don't remember it specifically.
Dude, so it was Brad Binder on it and Miguel Oliveira.
Yep.
Or was it? No, Jorge Martin was on it. And dude, they switched frames every single race. And I was on the same frame the whole year. And it was the frame that like their first frame that was like not good. And dude, it was so hard to ride that bike that year. Like my results just were worse than on the Japanese bike. And dude, yeah. And we had to like come up with some money to stay. Like I had to find money to be able to stay the next year.
How much are we talking?
Like I think the most we had to spend in a year was like 150 to 200,000
Euro?
Yeah.
Or US?
Euro.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fuck, it's a lot of money, eh?
It's a lot of money, man. And it's not easy to find that money either. I had to kind of find it from other ways and luckily we found it. But yeah, that's the other aspect to all this is like the sacrifice that's gone in to make this happen. I think builds up that kind of pressure a little bit to make it worth all of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but I think then the 2020 years, that 2020 year, I basically was like, I'm going to stay because I want to race in Moto2 another year and try to win the championship. And I moved to this Italian team that was like the world champions of that year. And I was like, I'm finally building up this momentum that I can fight for the championship. And the way I saw it was like, I'm just going to build my stock in this as a rider, so then I'll get the chance to go to MotoGP as like a champion or a multi-race winner. I hadn't even won a race yet. And yeah, dude, that decision like really flopped on me. Like I went into that team and I remember sitting down with them after the last race of 2020. We had a test in Jerez, in Jerez. And dude, nobody spoke English at all. And I was like, okay, what do I do here? And like they were talking about hiring a translator to then speak to my crew chief. I mean, it's just like playing telephone with bike setup, it was like so hard. And it was like that for 3 years. And I was kind of stuck.
Dude, that would have been so hard.
It was so hard, man. And like I was stuck in the contract, I was stuck there. I couldn't leave. I had other chances to like move to other Moto2 teams, but they were blocked. They just wanted to keep me. And yeah, it was a difficult 3 years, man, at that team. And it honestly brought down my kind of like, I think people were like, oh, maybe he's not that good, and it was just hard. Like the bike they had me riding, they never changed. Like he was this older crew chief that was like just kind of stuck in his ways. And I don't want to put all the blame on them because there was times I made mistakes too. And we had some good races too. But that was the thing, like the bike worked sometimes, like I could make it work. But then at other places, I was just like, this doesn't speak to me, this bike. I don't understand it.
Yeah. And if you can't make changes and if you can't even have contact with the team to like communicate the way that you're feeling, like you're literally just stuck.
Well, also you just get gaslit too, like heavily, where you're like, they're like, yeah, we changed the bike. And then it was like weird. I'd have these backdoor discussions with like people outside of the team that were like, like people that were connected technically to the team. And they're like, Joe, they're not changing the bike at all. Like you're just riding the same thing. And I'd be like freaking out. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like,
why would they do that?
I don't know. It was kind of like this mentality, like you find, honestly, working in the world level can be, I feel like in America, they're more open to understand you and like work the bike around you. But you find a lot of technicians there that they've found, either they're not like super technically strong. Like they don't know how to create a great bike and like reinvent things for the rider. They just have a way of working. And so they're just like, this is the patent thing and it works for some riders. And if it doesn't work, then we'll get the next one in and maybe that'll work for that rider. I think there's people like that. And there's just a lot of egos too. Yeah. A lot of egos.
That's
Yeah.
a huge part of it. You know, like the inside, especially seems like in MotoGP too.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that goes on in the paddock where you're just like, it fucking really doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Like that just is one guy not liking
Yeah.
this guy and I mean, you can see it whether you're a motocross rider that's riding Glen Helen on Tuesday and Thursdays that goes to a suspension guy, and that suspension guy has all the secrets. He's the best dude in the world. All these other guys are wrong.
Yeah.
I got the best shit. And it's like, oh, why aren't you working for Factory KTM then? But, oh, they don't know shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally,
Yeah.
that's our world in a nutshell, too.
Well, like, also, I think there's like the classic thing of saying between a crew chief and a rider. Like, if they had an excuse after a race that didn't go well, it'd be like the rider would be like, the bike was shit. The crew chief say the rider was shit. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, everyone's just like, I don't know. But maybe that's all you have, you know, is like your belief in your ability, and you gotta find the right connection where you gel with someone. And to tie it all in, going into 2024, I felt that with my crew, and I felt a real connection with everybody and a real connection with the bike. And suddenly, like all those like confidence, everything started coming back to me. I was like, oh yeah, this is me. This is how I ride. I felt like playful with the bike, and like, you know, I didn't feel stressed to get to the track. I felt excited. I was like, I can't wait for the next track. You know, I can't wait to get to that Thursday and walk and see the team, be at the track. Like the mentality you take to something is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt in that Italian team, like tested me so heavily, because I felt like if you just feel like nothing's going to change and you're just going to ride the same thing, how do you have that confidence to go to the next place? It's like that thing, like that belief that things are going to get better before they've done. Like I know I can win a race even though you haven't done it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that would have been a hard 3 years.
Dude.
And then you wanting your stock to improve as a rider, but all that would have done would have been just lower your stock.
And there was moments too where I blew it too. Like we had a race in 2000. The best year with Italtrans was 2022. That was, to me, like we were building. I found something with the bike that worked, and I felt like a connection with some of the team that was working. And I got to Catalunya, Barcelona. Dude, I was so on fire in that race. I took off. I was like 4 seconds ahead. And it was so weird being out front, man. I hadn't been out front for like since the America days.
Yeah.
I hadn't won a race since like I was racing in America, which was years before. It was so trippy. Like there was not a sound around me. There's just open track ahead. It was the weirdest thing ever. And I had too much time to think, you know? And yeah, I made the mistake. I crashed out of that race, which was like, I even said to myself while I was riding, I was like, ooh, temperature's a little warm in the front. I don't know if don't crash. Next corner, gone, you know? And, but that was a lesson learned for sure. But that was interesting yeah. That was a cool race up until that point.
That would have been bizarre.
Yeah. 5 seconds ahead, man, against like the best riders in the world. That was like the sickest thing. I felt so one with the bike and like, so like on it. Yeah.
And then.
To be fair though, there was this thing I was like, when you're out front, your marker is kind of like the board. Like what your gap is kind of like how much you push.
Yeah.
So like if you see, if you are like, okay, I'm going to push, I think the lap time there was 44s. I was like, I'm going to stay consistently in the 44s and see what happens to the board. Come around. Okay. It's 2 seconds. Come around again. It's 44 again. What is it? Oh, it's 2.1. All right. This pace is pretty good. Like I should stay here because, you know, these guys are slightly dropping back. Next lap, it come around 1.9, and I did a 45.0. Okay, hey, I got to pick it up a little bit because these guys are catching you. So that's kind of like how you manage it. And basically, I didn't realize, but I had dropped them. Like basically, it was like the rubber band effect. I broke the rubber band, and I was like 4 seconds ahead. But I came around, it still said 2 seconds.
So in your head, you were still thinking.
So then I was like, I got to keep 44s going. When they like the tires basically couldn't keep 44s for the whole race. We had to drop into 45s.
Yep.
But so that's where the mistake made. But obviously, I needed to understand what was going on with the bike and listen to it more and like,
trust yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, and like
you had
not
that
panic
thought.
because 2 seconds is enough to win by. You only need to win by 1.
0.0001.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, it'd be nice to not be in that situation where you're battling like that in the last lap. It'd be nice to win the race by a large margin and you just coast across the finish line. That's a great feeling. But
yeah, especially for your first one.
Yeah, so yeah, there's been little moments like that, but I don't know, man. I never gave up, and I'm not giving up. I'm gonna keep going and try to win this championship this year. Out of everything last year, with like the chance to maybe go to MotoGP and not having it, the thing I'm more bummed about is just that I didn't win the world championship. You know what I mean? And I want to put
Sorry. Just turn it off. All right, we're back. Is that all still recording on the? That's all good. Sorry.
Very good.
Yeah. So you're the most bummed to just not win that world championship.
Yeah. The thing that I was more bummed about is not winning that world championship, and that's the thing I want to put more attention on this year. Is not
the external of the ride, because that will take care of itself.
That will take care of itself if you're winning, and that's what I care about more. And it's been a long time in this class, and I know I can win it, and I believe it in my soul. So
I just think also as well, like, to just not play into any of the stereotypes and to not play into any, or like believe the stories about age or being so long in this class. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you can go on a run where you're winning these races and you're winning that championship, like all the guys that you've raced and been competitive with in Moto2 over these years have all proved to be competitive in MotoGP.
It's true.
There's nothing that would tell me from the outside that you can't compete in MotoGP.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But there's a lot of narratives
that
one could believe or that, people can say, but it's like, there's a dude that can break all of those stereotypes and all of those, preconceived notions.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how you get that ride. Always, I think it's not always just down to like
talent or
results. I think there's so many factors to it. Like, there's riders that are super young and then show a lot of talent, and they're like not super consistent in a season. Like Quartararo, like he went out and won 2 races, and then Yamaha and that Petronas team were like, oh, we see something. And they were right. They took him and he killed it. But it's not like he didn't win the championship in Moto2, So, but for me at this point, I think what I have to do is win. And it's not even like again, now, like it's not for that ride. It's not for MotoGP. It's just for me. I just want to win the championship. So.
How frustrating was the whole Trackhouse deal?
Yeah, it was weird. Because it felt like it was going in that direction. Like it was seeming like we were gonna move up, but yeah, I don't really know what happened, to be honest with you, man. Like there was a lot of discussions and things going forward, and it seemed like it was gonna happen, and at least that was what was told to me through the people around me. I wasn't really super heavily involved in all the discussions with the team and stuff like that. I left that to other people, but the kind of word I was getting back was, that all the people wanted it to happen. And it was distracting too, more just the media aspect to it, it was distracting. Like you'd have every time on a Thursday, I'd have an interview with TNT, and they'd always be asking me about it. Like, what's the news? Is it happening? And that's part of the job. You got to know how to deal with that stuff, which I hadn't been in that position for.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was kind of a learning thing for me. But it definitely, like, I think if you look at the way the season went, you know, my season started really strong. Agura's didn't. He was actually not that strong in the first part of the year. He kind of built his season up, and then when he got the ride, you could kind of see like he hit his like peak, you know, and started riding really well. And you know that when you get that kind of confidence of like, oh, I've now moving up, it's like a validation of like your season and your riding. And I think
and then it builds momentum. Objects in motion want to stay in motion.
Right, exactly. And I think what happened to me was just when I got that kind of, yeah, we're not taking you, I went, oh. And I lost my way of what the priorities were, which was to win the championship, you know? And yeah, that was the mistake of me, because you never know what can happen as well, you know? And I ended up injuring myself, and that's all just the mind, man. Just like your will, the way you approach these things. But I think injuring myself was good because I like realized all these things, you know. I had a chance to like sit and look at all of it and go, okay, I understand where things went wrong.
Yeah.
And that was like, it wasn't good to put base the season around that outcome of like, if I do this, it means I get a MotoGP ride.
Yeah.
It gave me a lot of confidence and like motivation, and it helped the riding for sure. But then when it went away, it was like, well, what the hell, you know? And then it kind of killed that confidence a little bit. And yeah, it was a bummer for the team. I think I feel bad because I let the team down with that, putting all that outside noise and bringing that in. You know, it was like we had something really good we had created. And but yeah, that's racing, man. The show goes on, and another year, another chance.
Another opportunity, yeah.
Yeah.
I think from Trackhouse, just I think they missed the opportunity. You know, like obviously Agura's phenomenal talent, you know, but I just think like in the big landscape of MotoGP, like bro, MotoGP is so fucking sick.
Yeah, it is sick. It's very cool.
So fucking sick.
Yeah.
Those bikes, those riders, the show, dude.
Yeah.
That is one of the most underrated sports in the world, and they have something there. But it's what you said before.
Yeah.
There's no personalities in that sport that are going to be able to carry that. They don't match the energy.
Right.
And you almost had Valentino Rossi that was carrying the sport in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he
Totally.
had the structure and he had the thing, he had the platform, but then he went and he took it on his back and made it this incredible spectacle.
Yeah.
And now it's like over the years, MotoGP has developed, the riding has developed, the racing. There's probably not better racing anywhere in the world than MotoGP.
Yeah, I agree.
Or Moto2, MotoGP.
Moto3 even is really interesting. Yeah, I think it's one of the coolest. I mean, yeah, of course, I love it. It's my sport. I think it's the coolest sport in the world. And yeah. No, I think more personalities would be good. And honestly, I was happy for Agura too, which was
for sure
was funny. We had this like moment after Coda. We went out and like, because I had a great race, and he came out to a bar and we all got like drunk and played pool and played darts. And after that, we kind of actually became friends. So, you know, I'd see him out at the track, and he's a really cool guy, like really interesting dude. And
how's his English? Does he speak good English?
He does speak good English.
That's awesome.
But he's very like to himself. Like he doesn't talk to anybody. And one of my mechanics used to work for the Honda Asia team where he was riding. And he's like, he doesn't talk to any other rider. And me and him actually had like a little friendship and relationship. So yeah, it was kind of weird when they picked him over me. I was like, oh, whoa, it was kind of, I don't know, it was funny. But I messaged him at the end of the year and told him that I thought he did an excellent year and he was a great rival, and wish him all the best for everything. So, which is true. So, and having more different personalities in the sport and like nationalities, I think is cool. And he is an incredible rider. So.
Yeah. I just think from going back to the whole Trackhouse thing, like I'm pretty sure, was this out in the public that like Jack Miller as well was like, they were talking to Jack.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, you, Jack Miller, Trackhouse racing. Done. That in my, like, me putting on my fan of the sport and marketing, storytelling, what a fucking team. Like,
Yeah.
you got two Western dudes in a, well, I mean, I guess you can't say Europeans Western, but like two Americanized guys, one American racing for an American team. But I mean, the team isn't based in America. It's not
No.
run by Americans. Like, I think that it's not quite, it's got American ownership, but it's not quite an American team. But I think that for the sport and what we're saying about for the sport needing to progress and needing to have those characters, like at some point you're going to have to just be like, righto, we're doing the American thing. Like, look how amazing Nicky Hayden was for MotoGP.
Yeah.
And the Hayden brothers. And it's like, you're just not going to get the biggest market in sport to get behind the sport unless there is an American rider, American team. Like, there has to be some kind of influence for them to be involved in a big way, I think.
I completely agree.
Like, it's just, and that's like the bare bones
Yeah.
facts of the deal, you know, like you're not going to capture the attention without that. And I just think that obviously there's a ton of, I don't know how involved Justin is in like making the decisions. Like, I wonder if
I don't think he was that involved. I think it was actually more up to Brivio.
yeah.
So
And that's where I was going with it, you know,
Yeah.
is like you probably just need to have a guy, an American dude that's like calling those shots. But at first year, like, I mean, I get how hard it is to make it happen, but that's, in my mind, that's what needs to happen.
yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's all like in the past. It's not really like much to do about it. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with it all, and I think the general feeling is that it'd be nice to have more. I mean, yeah, I want to be in MotoGP, so that would be cool if I was there, and I believe I'm good enough to race with those guys, and not just be like, someone circulating. I think I could win in that championship. So, but you got to prove it. You got to show it on the track before, and I think that's what I'm putting my attention on. So who knows what happens, man. You never know. The impossible can happen. I saw that there's like the Dodgers kind of like World Series poster thing. The impossible can happen. So
Yeah, that was crazy.
that was cool.
That
I wasn't even a baseball fan until that moment watching the World Series.
Yeah, but that's what sport's about, right?
Yeah.
It's about moments and like capturing, the broader audience's attention.
Yeah, for sure.
What have you been following? Like, do you follow much of the MotoGP stuff in general? Like anything, like the tests that's going on right now? Like, do you follow any of that?
Not really, no.
Don't give a fuck.
I mean, I do, but I don't know.
I get why you wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I'm not keeping an eye. I like I'll check in on the times and see what people are up to. And
You'd have to be paying attention to Igura, right?
me?
Yeah, like where he's. I mean, I guess you can't really tell with testing, but
No, I'm curious. Anybody who comes from Moto2 fresh out of it, I'm curious how they're going to do in the first, kind of showing of the bike. It is curious for me to see because it is a very different bike than Moto2. It's a way, way more advanced bike and a lot more going on. I've spoken to some of the riders that moved up and they're like, yeah, there's so much more you have to think about than in Moto2. Moto2 is like pretty simple, man. There's no track control. You have like a couple maps to change the engine brake. For the most part, the bike doesn't really change. Like there's kind of this idea that like you keep the bike the same, like a base setup that you keep for every track, and you just kind of change spring rates and suspension. But like for the most part, everything's the same. So really, Moto2 is just like the rider, whereas I think MotoGP is a lot more like the bike, kind of like Formula One. I did notice Aldeguer was actually quite quick, which was interesting. He was up there, but obviously it's just day 2. I don't know where he'll end up. But yeah, he hop on that Ducati and he's like right there.
Did you see Martin's crash?
I did, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, but I think, isn't that the place that Marquez crashed too? Was it coming out of turn 1 into 2?
I'm not sure. Can you pull it up? I'm
Yeah, that
not
looked gnarly.
that familiar with those tracks. Dude, Marquez, man, is a fucking superhero.
He's just incredible, man. Like, I totally understand why they took him over Martin too.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, this is it, yeah.
Yeah, that's turn 2.
Oh,
That's crazy.
straight to the dome, too.
Is that turn 2?
It looked like there was a right before it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, very, very hard. Yeah, let's play that. Oh. Jorge Martin. Is that an AI generated voice, do you think?
Martin, after an early crash at turn 1, he remounted and
Yeah, turn 1.
So yeah, he crashed turn 1 and then on
turn
turn 5.
sending him flying off of
Oh, fuck, that's bad.
medical assistance and went to the hospital nearby for further checks before officially withdrawing from the test later in the evening. Things went from bad to worse for Aprilia soon after, as Raul Fernandez fractured his left metacarpal bone as a result of a crash, and he too has pulled out of the Sepang test. This left Marco Bezzecchi and Ayagura as the sole
I like
Aprilia
Bezzecchi.
riders on
Yeah,
the
he's cool, huh?
Yeah, he's a cool character.
the top 15, though lap times
He's a guy that has a cool personality.
they tested
Yeah.
various things, including 3 bikes per factory rider, 1 from the recent Barcelona test, and 2 updated evolutions of the 2025 machine.
That bike looks sick.
58 laps in total on day 1, the second highest behind Subcat Chantra's 70.
Wonder if they'll show times at the end.
I think the Yamaha's gotten better.
Yeah. Do they show any times? Go back a bit, Griff. God, they need to, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, just pause it. Yeah, I mean, fuck. How would you be being Martin? Wins his first world title.
Yeah, but do you see how he is though? Like, I listened to an interview with him about his mentality going into it now. He seems like it's shifted completely. It's not so much like,
About winning?
yeah, he's like, it's not so much about I'm here to try to win. Like, I think he's kind of just, what's this going to be like? You know?
Yeah.
Maybe not trying to put too much pressure on himself with the Aprilia.
Well, I just think too, like you just in the sport, you can fall in just such a weird year and a weird time to where it's like you win the world title, and then the only place for you to go, like that team that you're on, is going to a different manufacturer. There's no way for you to go to the factory team because the best rider, arguably of all time, just wants the seat that you want, and then you end up with the number 1 on an Aprilia.
That's kind of crazy, actually.
It
put
is.
It like that.
It is crazy. Like, and that is through no fault of his. Like, talk externals, right? Think about the externals that stopped Jorge Martin from even being able to defend a world title.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy the way it played out, though. I like the fact that you've got like people like bringing in the other manufacturers, like having a really good rider, a world champion on a different manufacturer, creates a cooler story to me. Otherwise, it's just the Ducati show, you know?
Yeah,
like, I don't think they actually have room for someone like Jorge in that team, you know? Like,
no, for
the
sure.
dynamic makes sense. You have Bagnaia, who's kind of like this incredible rider, could win the championship 100%. And then you've got this kind of, I mean, Marquez is he's kind of a wild card at this point. You don't know exactly what he's going to do, but he's such a huge personality that like adds so much value to the brand, you know? But you don't know if he's going to win it. You've got a sure champion, Bagnaia, and then someone that is an amazing, lot of talent with this huge, I mean, he gets more likes on his stuff than all of MotoGP and any other rider, for sure. Like, he's just he's the greatest right now in the sport.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I don't know. It makes sense to me.
No, I completely agree. Like, and if you're Jorge, you just go like, that's some shit luck.
Yeah.
That I just fell again. Like, Marquez is going to go wherever Marquez wants to go. He wanted that, right? Oh, so there you go, mate. There you go. You got it. That's yours. Do your thing. But I could see him going on a run. too.
Who?
Marquez.
Marquez. Yeah. No, I think if he doesn't crash, I think he could win the championship.
Yeah, I can see him just going old school, just being like way faster.
But part of me kind of thinks that the bikes and everything have changed. It's not so much that
The rider that it was.
No, I don't think it's so like you have to ride those Ducatis a certain way to make them work. I mean, the lap times everywhere have gotten quicker than anything Marquez did in the past. You know, it's kind of like the eras of things. Like Rossi's style of riding worked for that style, and then you've got Marquez who kind of came into like the new modern age, and now you've got these other riders that are just like, I mean, they're like machines on these bikes, you know. So I don't know, like you don't see. I think Marquez, what carries him is just his mentality, like
just pure competitiveness.
Yeah, like he can get on the bike and just go and like crash, pick up the bike, and then set a lap record again. That's insane. That's so cool.
Dude, some of the quali crashes and shit that he's had, just running back to get the second bot, like
in Austin,
superhero shit.
Do you remember in Austin when his bike broke and then he pulled off, ran, and then pulled out and just set the lap record?
Yeah,
it's insane. Yeah, so that's like where I think he will carry him to be able to win the championship. I don't think he can ride the bike like he rode the Honda before, but I think he's talented enough. I mean, dude, I went out in the summer to Spain in between Mugello and Assen when we had our break. I went out to this track called Alcaraz, which is a flat track, and he was riding flat track there. And it's like a TT style track. And, you know, I just like sat in the middle of the track and just watched him. Dude, he's just, the way he flows on the bike, I was just like, it was insane. I was like, this guy just like connects every single dot, and the way he moves on the body, it was like I was obsessed with it. It was so cool to see. Very inspiring.
Is there a video of that? Like,
yeah,
what
for
was
sure.
It, what would it?
Look up Marc Marquez Alcaraz. I think it's Carrs. Yeah, ass. Yeah. Moto flat track.
Oh, there you go. Oh, it's 7 seconds. Fuck,
I don't think that's the best video to see.
Go back. Go down.
Or just flat track. Look up flat track.
Oh, go down. Go down. 36 seconds. Fuck all.
Nah, you want like a good video. I mean, even this, like...
Yeah, watch this.
Like, he just, you know, Brad Baker, the best flat tracker of that time. And he just
competes.
Ripping with him, dude.
That's such a cool skill, eh? Oh.
That was like with the old... They used to do this thing, like take Michelin rain tires and put them on. Now they run the night, like they're 17s or 16-inch tires.
Yeah.
Now they run like the 19s.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a different style.
Yeah. No, I know that style that you're talking about though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's just such a freak
Yeah.
talent of a guy, and then you mix that with just like the crazy competitiveness and then willingness to take risks.
Yeah.
Like at the end of his Honda time, I wanted him to stop. I was just like, bro, this isn't working. Like the formula is wrong. You and that bike, like, no, we're not doing this. And you're going to get really hurt. And it was just that dog.
I know. It was kind of a weird thing, like an end of an era. I was like sad to see him not be on the Repsol, but yeah, now that he's on the factory Ducati, it's like super cool.
I wonder how much difference it is.
A big difference, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think the way that Ducati rides is way different. You know, like it seems like he had like a lot of feel for like the rear and the front with the Honda, like being able to like slide it in and kind of have this like controllability to like a real understanding of where the front would be, which you could see him like always saving it. Like it feel like he's so connected to that front tire, on that Honda. And then obviously when the Honda lost its way, you could see him losing. Like he just didn't have that feel anymore like he used to. And maybe that's also just the bike didn't catch up to the times, like how things were developing. Like Ducati just reinvented how to make a MotoGP bike, basically.
Yeah.
But I don't really see that kind of style with the Ducati. It seems like the Ducati to me is you can stop, like you can brake super late and you just have this kind of like really like good grip on the exit and like good straight line speed. But like the braking ability on the Ducati is insane, you know? So I don't know. I think it's a different style completely to ride it. And you saw him kind of like struggling a little bit at the beginning, but I mean, dude, he got third last year in the World Championship on an old bike. That's crazy. That's cool.
I think what I would see from Marquez, and like you'd be able to probably tell me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like the lap times dropped across the board because of the Ducatis, right? And then you have a guy that is trying to extract a lap time from a bike that doesn't have that lap time.
No.
You know, and I think that's where that loss of connection came from, is because that era where he was so dominant, that bike's window, like he just rode that thing in the perfect window and it was fast enough to win.
Yeah.
But then it's like once the Ducatis hit their stride and people could do those lap times easier, like you're saying, he just had to take that bike over its limit. And
yeah. And there was also this thing too, I heard that like from other people riding the Hondas, that Honda just followed Marc's way on developing. So when he left, they were kind of just like left with this bike that only he could ride, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's gone for like, I mean, really, he wasn't there for that whole year and then really wasn't that around in 21, right?
Yeah,
it's like 2 years, 2 crucial years of development that Ducati took a huge step forward, and Honda are just left with riders that, I mean, they didn't even have super competitive riders in 2020. They had Alex Marquez, right? And then they got like Stefan Bradl to come in, and you know, nothing against those riders, but they're not like championship contenders. So,
and then they're just like lost in this place of like trying to ride a bike that was just completely not designed around them in any way.
Yeah, and then wasn't there like Casey Stoner originally was coming in after retirement to like help.
He was doing some testing, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But then Marc didn't like his feedback or something, and they got rid of Casey, I thought.
Is that why?
I thought that's what I heard, but
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because Casey was doing testing for him, and he's so meticulous about feeling and what bro, that's a dude that even riding motocross, like you go ride motocross with him and he's so fucking good.
Really?
Oh, like tiny dude on a 450 and just like ripping, bro.
Dude, he was my guy growing up. Like we had the same number, not by like, I didn't even choose it because of him. Like it was an accident. Like I just chose 27 and then I was like, whoa, he has 27. And I was such a Casey Stoner fan. Such an incredible rider.
What were your favorite years?
My favorite years, probably like 2000. Where my like real connection and love came in was like 2006. Yeah. And I started watching from there. Like 2005, I wasn't like super aware of GP yet, but like 2006, 7, yeah, those were the years. 2005, I went to Laguna Seca. That was the first year I saw a MotoGP race, seeing Nicky win. I think he won 2005, right?
Can you look that up?
I think it was 5 the first year of Laguna was 5 and he won it. Yeah, that was sick. That was like my full inspiration. See an American win at home. Yeah, that made me want to be a MotoGP rider.
Dude, think about think about what Nicky did.
Dude,
for
so
the sport
much
here, man.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. He was such a cool guy.
Nicky, yeah.
Yeah, 2005.
On this day in 2005, Nicky Hayden wins at Laguna Seca to claim his first GP victory.
That's pretty goated. You win your first GP at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sick.
Dude, that's crazy. So it's been 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
Since Nicky won at Laguna. God, I wish they still race there.
I know. I talked to some people. I was talking to Paolo Ciabatti from Ducati about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, they'll never come back here.
Really?
The bikes are just too fast now. And I mean, Laguna is a very cool track, but it's pretty small. like a lap time around there for a modern day GP bike would be like probably like a 116. I mean, that's like
That's like a supercross track.
yeah, that's tiny. Like I think the minimum. I think well, I guess it's not that different to like Sachsenring, which is like a 120 something. But yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is just like when you come out before the corkscrew, that left there. When you come up to the corkscrew, it's just like walls on either side. You know, I think they'd have to like really change a lot of stuff, and just the paddock isn't big enough.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have like high quality enough pit boxes, and they'd have to like reinvent a bunch of things. But it'd be so sick. We need more like American GPs.
Where else could do it, do you think? Like, Coda's rad.
Coda's sick. That's a great, like, just the track is interesting. It's a little like, it's definitely like a car track, but I like a lot of elements to Coda. But just the town itself, like Austin's super cool. I heard they were doing something in Tennessee. They had like a track they were opening up that was supposed to be another GP track, but I don't know what's happening with that. I heard something, this is kind of crazy, but I heard they were maybe going to build a track in Lake Elsinore. But I don't know. That sounds like, where are they going to build one there?
Well, they got the whole area where the motocross track is. It just got shut down.
Oh, really?
It's like right next to the lake. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could. That's like an hour and a half from LA.
Yeah, it was something that John told me last year, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but
I'm for it.
I'm for it.
Dude, I'd love that. I'd be able to ride.
Imagine, because Willow Springs is up for sale. Imagine somebody buys Willow Springs, like a developer, and turns that place into like a full Grand Prix track where they bring F1.
How far is Willow Springs from here?
About an hour. Well, from here, maybe like 2 hours, but
Yeah.
from my house, it's about an hour.
That would be so sick.
That's not bad.
Nah.
Problem is you just need to build like hotels, and
Yeah,
there's not a lot out there. But yeah, that would be so sick.
Is that track, you think you could do it?
Not the way it is now. But
You'd have to
like reinvent it a little bit, but
Yeah.
there's plenty of space to do it. They got like a whole bunch of other tracks there that you could connect up and make like some crazy track out of. Yeah.
I'm into that.
Yeah. I was like trying to see how much they're selling it for. Not that I have that kind of
You got
money.
that OnlyFans money, bro.
I got that OnlyFans money, man. But I was like, can I get a mortgage for this? Or like, can I get a loan to buy
It
this?
seems like a lot.
I think it's like 18 million or something.
Oh, you got that.
I got that.
OnlyFans has that for
Yeah,
sure,
right?
dude. That's like 3 chicks fucking having a good month.
Dude, that's like my dream, to own my own track. I was just up in Northern California at my buddy, Tyler O'Hara.
Nah.
He races like the King of the Baggers for Indian.
Yep.
Yeah, so his family, or his wife's family, own a bunch of like dairy farms up in like Petaluma, north of San Francisco. Dude, he has like the sickest flat track on top of this hill, looking over like this valley and like the ocean. It felt like heaven, dude. It was insane. And like we're just like ripping around, battling each other, doing TT tracks. Like that is my ideal situation. Not a lot of real estate for that in America, in LA. But
Yeah. It gets harder the closer you get to LA.
yeah, maybe like on the way up to Palmdale or something.
Santa Barbara area is pretty sick, but
Yeah.
like hard for.
I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah.
Ojai maybe.
Ojai. Where's that?
That's like that's near Santa Barbara.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Just a little bit on the outskirts, the rougher side of
yeah,
Santa Barbara.
exactly.
What do you think about the bikes at the moment in MotoGP? Should we be like pushing more in that direction, or should we be going back to the more rider focused?
I think more rider focused, to be honest with you. I think that'd be cool. I don't know. I've never rode one of those bikes, so it's hard for me to say. But
we're in an era where you have to be on this bike to win.
But it's always been like that.
I suppose, right?
You know, like, and I think that's actually something that's cool about these days is that, you know, like a satellite team could win, like Pramac. You know, anyone could win. But I also have a theory that sometimes back in the day, it was easier for the fans to follow like a couple heroes. You know, you had your hero characters like Rossi, Lorenzo, Stoner, Pedrosa, Nicky, you know, all these guys. It was kind of a little bit more
Clear who the guy was.
Yeah, these days is like anyone could win. It's
yeah.
like hard to track, and then they'll like let you down if they're like 15th next weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's something there, but they are bringing the bikes. They're going to 800s in 2027, which, yeah, I don't know how that'll be.
What's a Moto2 bike?
765. Yeah, no, it's not going to be the same, dude. Like, I had this discussion with John Hopkins last year. Like, he'd be like, I was riding 800s here and doing this lap time. I'm like, yeah, you're on like a full prototype 800. Like, a Moto2 bike's a production bike engine, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's not even close. Like,
yeah, there is a big difference.
There's a big difference. But so the bikes will definitely still be faster. But yeah, I don't know. The aero's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'm like about it. I don't know if I like the look of it, to be honest. What do you think of the aero?
I'm in two minds because I think it just makes passing and braking, like, it seems like it's really good for the bike in front.
Yeah.
But then I know, like, from people, like, you hear that the front tire just gets completely fucked.
Yeah.
You just can't follow because there's like just dirty air, and then it just cooks your front tire. So it's like, and then if you come out in braking, the way that the bike like, it just seems like it makes a motorcycle not a motorcycle. It's like you're kind of riding a plane.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's that good for the bike that's behind.
I think it's good, like, innovation and like things like that on the bike are good for the manufacturers. It keeps them interested, you know, and wanting to keep pushing forward. But yeah, I know what you mean about that. There's actually something cool with Suzuki. I was such a Suzuki fan, dude. I loved that bike. If I could ride a MotoGP bike, I'd want to ride that one. Just the way it like looked like it handled, definitely up my alley. But I heard they did this thing with the fuel, or they did something, the exhaust. It would put out this like fume or whatever that would like get into some of the bikes behind and like slow them down.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you hear this?
I heard it from like ex-Suzuki people.
No shit.
Yeah, I think I can say that now. They're not around, but
yeah, right.
Yeah, dude. Isn't that crazy? It's like a smoke screen. That's like like Mario Kart.
Yeah, legit. From the banana.
Yeah, it's like banana, dude. And like, yeah, that was cool to hear that. But yeah, I would love to have rode that bike. But I don't know.
What kind of year era?
I would love to ride. My favorite years of bikes that I would love to ride. I'd love to ride the new, like the original MotoGP bike, like the thousands back then.
What year were we talking?
Like 2002.
So pull up like 2002.
Look up Melandri, or you know him coming out of the last corner of Phillip Island.
Yeah.
There's also one of like
Marco Melandri, 2002.
Or I think he's 2005 or something.
Oh, 05.
Look up Marco Melandri last corner Mugello or Phillip Island slide.
So go 05.
Or maybe it was 06 even. Or just look up Marco Melandri, last corner, Phillip Island. Melandri, there
you go.
Phillip Island.
Down Phillip Island.
There it is. It's already there.
Oh, look at that. That's so iconic, dude. Full screen. Oh, go back.
It's just the sickest thing ever.
Oh, man, that's so gnarly.
And you could do that on those bikes back then because the electronics weren't that good.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too, like tires and...
Yeah, that era is so sick.
Look up MotoGP Slides 2005 or something. Or MotoGP Slides 2005 or 3 maybe.
Greatest MotoGP slides. Yeah, let's play this. This is it. Go full screen.
They better not show some like Street Rider. Oh my God. See. I told you, dude.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, there we go.
What is this guy doing?
Oh.
Oh, they're just going back and forth.
See the next one.
Oh,
bro.
That Cowie was so sick too. I looked up a video like how they came to be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, McCoy.
Wow.
I mean, that's just the thing you don't really get these days, you know? And like,
that is so ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, Nicky. So I'd love to ride those bikes, man.
Yeah. I just feel like, I mean, yeah, you are right. On the one hand, you've just got, because, MotoGP is like, it's the prototype. It's just the one of one or like two of two,
Yeah.
and it's the manufacturers just getting to flex and just go as hard as possible. But then you have to have a guide. You're just like putting a jockey on a horse,
Yeah.
whereas Rossi, Stoner, like those, even like Mick Doohan, you're just putting the guy on the thing that can just like tame the beast.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an argument both ways, but I'm probably leaning more towards the tame the beast kind of guy.
Definitely. I think it's more spectacular, and like, I don't know how you bring that back. You'd really have to like, the tire development's been like insane too. I've heard like those tires are really crazy to ride, but I think
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. I think if you took away the electronics, you'd get that type of riding again.
And I think that's what gets you the separation.
Yeah.
That you're talking about, because you're right, man. Like even in Supercross, we kind of went through this where everyone's like, "Oh, fucking Jet Lawrence is coming in. It's going to be boring now." But it's like, okay, in sport historically, when are the periods that the most people care? Tiger Woods,
Yeah.
complete and utter dominance. Jeremy McGrath, 7 Supercross titles. Like Valentino Rossi. It's in periods of greatness and sustained greatness and like these standout people in sport that really create, the most epic and the most remembered times in sport,
Yeah.
So I think that there's a huge argument for that.
Yeah, totally, man. It's like a hero you can depend on, right?
Yeah.
It's like someone you get up, you're like, makes your day better. I know what my day's like when the Bills lost. That sucked, man.
I was devoed.
Yeah.
I was actually devoed.
I didn't even, I was driving up to Northern California. I had to turn off the last 5 minutes, man.
I was empty, eh?
I was bummed about it.
Mm.
And I'm not even that big a Super Bowl or a football fan,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think having that hero, it's like people depend on. It's cool. But, and just like that, like just playfulness with people too. Like Rossi was so good at that, man. Like just being like, I remember meeting him when I was a kid. I've met him a lot of times, but like when I first met him, he grants you so much beingness.
Mm.
Like I've met a lot of different riders that I've looked up to, and some kind of just shrug you off. Some are like really inclusive and nice. And Rossi, man, like he really looks at you and gives you like his time and attention.
Mm.
Even if it's just for a split second, you feel like seen by him. And like he just had that ability to be, just such a personality. So
That's really cool to hear. I've never met him.
yeah, no, he's really cool. Nice guy. I've heard though that he was like a bastard with other riders, played some crazy
Bro,
mind games.
Casey couldn't stand him, dude.
Yeah, but I love that too.
Hey, it's art of war, bro.
Yeah.
Literally, like Casey would say that he couldn't even ride his scooter through the pits
Yeah.
because of the fans.
They like would hate him.
Bro,
right?
they would try and like make him crash his fucking scooter. He's got his wife on the back and shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, imagine what that would do to your head
Yeah.
as a rider when the other riders' fans are trying to sabotage you even moving your way through the pits on a MotoGP
Yeah.
weekend.
I honestly think riders these days, you can be friends with the riders, but keep that stuff secret.
Mm.
Play the show. Like, you want to get pissed off at people, create the whole like dynamic. I don't really like seeing like a battle and then like buddies coming up hugging each other after. It's like, okay, cool. We're just watching two friends.
Yeah, you broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, exactly. I want to
yeah.
believe that this is like you hate each other, like that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and it's such a, bro, I harp on this shit all the time. Like, there's a, like Hayden Deegan.
Yeah.
Bro, he's in. He's
Yeah.
like committed.
I know it's even reached me. I'm not like that big of a follower of like Supercross and stuff, but I know about his whole thing, how he is, and how, like all the talk between people.
And he's the nicest kid.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Just the nicest kid. But he's just like, I'm going to fuck with these dudes.
Yeah.
People are going to either love it or they're going to hate it. But he's like committed to giving people that show.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love that, dude. Because, yeah, be cool with them. But like in front of this on the TV, doing the entertainment thing that we're here for.
Yeah.
Like, be that fucking guy. Like, that's what you have to make people care.
Yeah, I'm not really that much friends with like other riders, to be honest with you, because I don't know. I like just that. I like keeping the separation too, and having like when I'm out there on the track, I don't want to be like, oh, this is my buddy. I'm gonna stuff him now. We're gonna have to have this talk later. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that? You know what I mean? Like, why do I need to have that? I see like all these riders like best friends with each other. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah. We ain't doing that.
No, we're not doing that, man. And it's also, I'm kind of, I guess maybe I'm a bit of an asshole, but it's kind of funny to me when I like will stuff somebody and, maybe it kind of ruin their race a little bit. Like Canet, I did that a couple times to him. And, after the race, just have this kind of awkward kind of smile at each other. Like we just know we screwed each other a little bit on that, or I messed with him or he messed with me. Like I like that kind of dynamic, so.
That's competition.
Yeah. But, yeah, well, let's hope we get a little more of that for sure.
Yeah. And it's hard though, right? Like, because there's always ramifications.
Right.
But
should you really care?
I think not, but I don't race. But some people, they just like, I don't want to rock the boat,
Boring.
I agree.
Get out.
Yeah.
Not for you, dude.
Go
ride at the track days, man.
Yeah, I know. Go ride with your buddies.
Go ride with your best friends, dude. Not racing.
Don't bring that shit around here. How different do you think this year is going to be? Like in terms of just the feeling coming into it, like again, knowing, believing, like you just know you can win the championship this year.
There's the knowing. I know that it's possible. I had this thing last year. I looked at all the field and I looked at every rider and I was like, there's not one rider here that I couldn't beat, And I think that's the same thing this year. So, the biggest thing is just going to be managing my own mental state and just keeping myself in that locked in feeling, That's going to be the main thing. And I believe I can and believe I can win. But it's, words are words and actions are another thing. So I got to go out and do it.
Yeah. So what's the plan from here? Like how long are you in the States before you head off now?
So I'm leaving on Monday. I'm going to Switzerland. So we're doing wind tunnel testing. I don't know if you've seen that before.
Yeah.
It sounds way more exciting than it is.
So you just got to sit on the bike in the tunnel?
I get up about 8 a.m., get to the wind tunnel at 9, and I'm sat in a crouch position for 8 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they testing?
They're trying all sorts of different stuff. Like, there's not like a lot you can do with Moto2 because of the...
Well, you can't have that much aero.
No, but you can change a couple things. I can't tell you, dude. It's
fair.
Secret.
Yeah, no, fair. So what do you do after that?
After that, I'm actually doing this... I work with this guy. I've done one thing with him, but he's basically like a brain scientist. There's probably a more...
Neurologist?
There we go.
Yeah.
He basically tests your kind of vision and like he has this whole like 3D goggles thing that he puts on you and basically he's trying to get your brain to use like your peripheral vision in a good way. So he'll have this like software where it's like bunch of tennis balls, right? He'll freeze it. He'll highlight 4 of them. And basically it's this kind of like virtual thing that's like has depth, height, cross. The balls bounce off each other and it goes at different speeds. So basically you have to take 4 balls. He'll press play. The balls will bounce around all over each other. You have to track all 4 of them. And then he'll freeze it and he'll say, okay, which ones are they? And then I pick the 4. And then if I get it right, it speeds up, it speeds up, it speeds up. And then if I get it wrong, it slows down. But it's so hard, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like I was like, show me a speed that people actually get this right at. And he showed me, and dude, some people are like, I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? But it was crazy too, because I went last year and I found out that my vision isn't that good.
Huh.
I'm actually kind of blind.
Do you wear glasses? Or?
I do. Now I do.
Now you do, yeah. Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
He was like, he sat with me. He's like, did you know that you don't have great vision? And I was like, what? No, I have great vision. I've been told I have 20/20.
Yeah.
But then at night, I'm like, like squinting, looking at stuff, or for the TV, I'm always like sat like that in my eyes. I found out I needed glasses, man. But it, and then I got contacts and I tried riding with those, and it actually messed me up. Like it was too clear. Everything.
Yeah.
It was like the depth was too real. I couldn't. It just didn't feel right. So I left the contacts. So I still ride blind, let's say, on the track.
I'm blind as fucking bad as well. But I got some of the goggles for, like the glasses for inside the goggles.
Oh, sick.
Struggled. Had to take them out.
Right.
Straight away.
Yeah, it's changed
but when I
everything.
so we actually have a sponsor for the show, Sport RX. They're fucking unreal. They literally just you give them your prescription and they just put them in everything. So I've got like 3 pairs of glasses, 5 pairs of sunnies, a pair of like riding, like for the mountain bike.
Yeah.
And they're like transition. So if it goes cloudy or like, they're actually the best thing ever.
I wonder if they could do a visor.
I should ask them for you.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, because for mountain biking, it's the fucking best for
Yeah.
me. But for the moto one, it's so hard because it's 2 separate bits of glass. And I think that's kind of what fucked me up. But I would always be like, yeah, that's why I'm slow, because I just can't see anything. But yeah, if I drive home without glasses at night, it's by the time I get home, I'm tired.
Really?
Yeah, just from that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see. Like, I'm playing it up. I'm not like super blind. I can see, like, sort of.
Yeah.
But like from a distance, man, like that Indian sign over there is like, it's blurry. I can't read below it. Motorcycle. I know it's Indian motorcycle, but I can't see the letters perfectly.
Yeah, but it would be that you know what it looks like. So
I know what it looks like. So that's the same thing with tracks. I know what they look like.
Well, and I feel like, I mean, maybe this is hubris saying this, but I feel like there's not a crazy amount to quote unquote see on a road racing track. Am I wrong?
Oh, there's plenty to see, man. Shit. Yeah, you got to have there's little cracks. I use little references to know where I'm at on the track all the time.
I knew I was wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
So there's way more to see than what you think.
Yeah.
What's your take on just people's, like, to go back to like consciousness and processing and shit? Like, are the dudes that are the best in the world, like, is Valentino Rossi or Marc Marquez, do they have some kind of, like, yourself, do they have some kind of like hyper speed ability of like processing information? Because I'm assuming that me and you, we're going down turn 1, Phillip Island. I get a fuck, I need to hit the brakes moment. You get a fuck, I need to hit the brakes moment. But it's so much further down the track than me.
Maybe it's just like a personality thing, man. I don't know. Or maybe it's just like your way of, I don't quite know, to be honest with you. Like, why are some people so good at certain things? I do think you see riders' personalities when they're riding. Like, how they ride is like how their personality presents themselves.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just insecure.
No, you're not. Don't worry. Well, I don't know. But basically, I don't really know exactly what it is. I have always had this comfortability with a motorcycle. And maybe it's that past life thing, man. Maybe I've done that stuff in my past life.
No, because you got attacked by a bear.
That was a different past life. That was like I'm thinking I was like, in the 1800s or 1700s. I was out getting like.
But maybe before
I was
that,
gathering for my house to bring back to my family, and then I just never came home. That's what I think that scenario was.
And maybe now you're like Steve McQueen or something,
Damn, and Steve McQueen just chilled for a couple of years before 1997.
Yeah, he had like just maybe he like really went off the tracks.
I don't want to claim that, dude. I can't. That's too big to claim at all. He's like my hero, but one of my heroes. But I think there's just a feeling of just it's within you. It's like part of you, man. Like just to know how, like just a judgment of speed and a genuine enthusiasm to do something, and like why does anybody really love to do anything? Like people who try to do difficult things, some people just give it up because it's not their thing. Some people just stay with it. It's like my brother with guitar. Like guitar for me, like I play it a little bit, but I'm not very good. And it's very difficult for me to do it and do the coordination. But for him, he just rips around and has a great time on it. And he had to go through that kind of trial and error thing of,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do this one thing. But he just loved it so much that he stayed with it and figured it out.
Mm.
And I think there's some part to that with motorcycling, you know. I mean, I grew up with 3 brothers. We all rode bikes together. They all stopped doing it because eventually they were just like, couldn't see how to get better and how to keep going. Whereas for me, like I'd have big crashes. You know, I remember one of my first memories of riding a bike was riding a little like Suzuki JR50 in Griffith Park. And there's like, I saw this rock and I was like, I'm going to jump that rock. And it obviously went terrible and I ate shit.
Yeah.
And like a normal kid maybe would be like, oh, that's so dangerous. I don't want to do that. But for me, there's something inside me. It was just like, no, this is my thing. I love this, you know? So some people, it's just their thing, you know? And I don't know how to explain it other than how I just did, you know?
No, I think that's a pretty fair way to describe it, you know? I just wonder if there's like more of a biological thing at play, you know? Like, I guess that would be, and that makes sense to me too, you know? Like even Carmichael, he was literally saying like, I was not talented.
Yeah.
And it was so hard for me to do. And I just had to do it and do it and do it and do it and do it. And
Yeah.
there's also like an element of when you've done it for so long and you do it your whole life, you're like doing it through this really developmental part of like your brain developing too. So I
Yeah.
think like when you do something while your brain is still developing, like everything gets wired around that.
Oh, dude, my body is shaped to a motorcycle. Like the way my neck bends, the way I like my hips. I'm not super flexible in a lot of ways, but in some other ways, I'm like a fucking gymnast, dude. I'm more flexible than like a girl in some aspects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My girlfriend even gets like surprised. She's like, how do you bend that way?
Yeah,
you know?
you've just been doing it for so long.
Yeah. Don't ask me how she was asking me that, but
Oh.
anyways,
Just got a weird image, bro. Your girlfriend doing some weird shit. Hey, whatever, man.
anyways, but yeah, I lost track of what I was saying, man.
Nah, you.
Well, okay, back to like when I was a little kid. I didn't think I was like, me and my dad never like, I see so many, like in the motocross industry, you see so many like moto dads. I'm sure you've had plenty of people talk about this on the show, but like this kind of like mentality of like, you got to do it. You're going to be the next Ricky Carmichael, blah, blah. You know, it's like me and my dad never had that at all. Like we were just lovers of the sport. And like, it was just something that we loved to do together.
Yeah, you were friends going racing.
Yeah, and it was just this cool thing that I had with my dad, you know, because he'd all be working and then he'd come home and it'd be like this thing we're going to go do. And like, obviously I loved motorcycles with all my soul and we're like going to go riding and racing. And it was never like, even up until I got my chance to race in MotoGP, I didn't even know if I was going to make it to MotoGP, like in the World Championship. Like that's how like I was just going with the flow of things. And I don't know, I sometimes think like I see up and coming dads and with like their kid and they're like, you know, my kid's gonna be the next Rossi and things like that. And it's like, you don't know that. And like, how can you put that pressure on him at like a kid? You got to keep it fun at the beginning. Cause trust me, when you get to like my age and my thing, it's already like
Stressful enough.
yeah, you can't have that throughout your whole time. You're just going to get burnt out, you know? So that's one thing I'm grateful to my dad for. He always kept it fun. And, you know, anytime there's a hard moment, anytime there's been a hard moment in my career and I've been like, I don't know, Dad, I don't know if I can do this, man. It's just going crazy about it. Be like, okay, well, that's fine. Let's, you know, we can do something else. I'll help you with whatever. You go to school and I'd be like, what the hell? This is not the energy I want at all. I'm like, and I'd almost get pissed. I'd be like, why are you saying that? What do you mean? That's not what I want to hear, you know? That's just how my dad was, you know, or is. And
but that's a way to get the answer.
Yeah, it is. You know, I'm almost offended when people say that to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get the answer that you want in a weird way.
I'm just trying to vent, man.
Yeah.
I just want someone to listen to me.
I don't need you to solve my problems, Dad.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, same thing with my girlfriend. She doesn't want my solution.
I know, isn't it weird?
She doesn't want my solution. She just wants me to hear her.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you. Okay.
I've gotten very good at that these days. I'm just
I've
like,
gotten better.
my wife just starts complaining about some shit
Yeah.
and venting, and I'm just like, yeah, that is
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
You're right.
See,
And then
I
just
haven't
stop.
mastered that, man.
Fuck, you've got to commit to it, bro.
I think it's coming with age for sure. But
I just got sick of having the fight after it. where
Really?
It's like, I don't need you to solve my problems.
mm,
I'm like, all right.
yeah.
It's just such a fundamental difference, I think, between men and women psychologically.
Well, the funny thing is though, is that she'll do the opposite. Like I'll do that. I'll just like talk about something, and then she's like, okay, well, it's gonna be like this, and it's like, well, I don't want that. Like it'd be the same dynamic. I think men do it too, man. So.
Yeah, no, they do. But I think guys are way more like boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Righto, we could do this, this, and this.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think it's funny. Like your dad probably, that's such like a genuine response. Like, oh man, if it's bumming you out this much, like,
Yeah.
we don't have to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you get the right answer of like, no, fuck that. I actually
Yeah.
do want it. It's just really hard.
And you also need some people that like my dad is also very like, he tells me like you can do it. I know you can do it, and he's very much about that. And even when I'm in a tough place, he'll tell me things like that, which I really appreciate. But I also have people in my life that are, don't even want to listen to me complain about it, and are just like, you're a great rider and you can win. You can. And those people are really important. Those strong figures to like lean on as well. Very crucial. You need the right people around you for sure.
Yeah, 100%, man. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah. You are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so fucking huge, eh? Like
Yeah.
that's like, it's probably one of the more underrated things in life. Or like, I don't know whether people place enough importance on that.
But
Or give it enough of its respect of like what that actually does do for you.
Well, a lot of lives have been ruined by the wrong people around you.
Yeah.
Wrong influences or career, like making the wrong decision. I'm very conscious of who I surround myself with, and I don't think I've always surrounded myself with the right people. But it's kind of like that thing. The lesson is learned after the test, So, yeah.
So what about the music? That's just
The music
a great outlet to just get away from all of it.
EP coming out soon, dude.
Really? For real?
I don't know. I've flirted with the idea.
Do it.
The thing is that I do love music so much, and I played bands when I was a kid. I played bass. My brother, Pascal, my younger brother, he's an incredible guitar player and songwriter and stuff. So he's like, that's what he wants to do. He wants to make music or be in that field somewhere in the music industry. And so yeah, we all grew up like I have two older brothers, one younger brother. The next older brother to me is like a singer. We all had a band at one point in high school, and with my best friend.
It's called Hanson, right?
Huh?
Hanson?
No.
No, do you remember Hanson?
Oh, no, what?
That Bop song. They were all brothers.
I don't. Oh,
You know this.
The Naked Jonas Brothers band or whatever. The Naked
You
Brothers
know
band.
the Hanson. Go to Hanson. Sorry, it's a shit joke. Didn't land, but now we got to see it through. Type in Hanson band. You know this song for sure, dude. They were all brothers.
I haven't seen this.
Bro, there's no shot you haven't seen this. Just play the first song.
What?
You never heard this?
I've never heard this. This is
Nah.
new music to my ears, man. New music to my ears.
So this is all brothers.
Really? Yeah.
This was just a huge dude. Bump this on the way home.
Okay, I will.
Kind of one hit wonders.
Okay.
Like, they were like literally way before the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
Like fuck. What are you? 98.
97.
Yeah. So I'm 88. So I'm a little bit older.
Okay.
This was the Jonas Brothers before the Jonas Brothers.
Wow. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check it out.
Give that a list. That song was fucking huge, bro.
Yeah, there's been a couple brothers bands
Yeah.
that made it.
I thought everyone knew that song.
I didn't know that one, man. I'm gonna listen to it though.
Yeah,
It's before my time.
Yeah, you should listen to that. Yeah, so you got three brothers.
Yes, so we all
he's a singer.
Yeah, and we all used to play, and I played bass because it was kind of like the easiest one to play. Just pick it up and
Yeah.
strum away, and Figured it out. It's just 4 strings, single notes. It's kind of like I'm really a huge fan of music, but like I never trained to play music. I wish I did. I always wish I was a drummer. Love the drums, but anyways, fast forward now. Obviously, I started like traveling the world. I didn't really have time to be in bands and stuff, but recently I played it. My brother released some songs, so we like played some shows around town. I dusted off the old bass and got it going again. And last year, in the middle of the year, my girlfriend, she's also an incredible singer, and she showed me this like thing called Splice, which is like anyone who's like a music person would be like, oh man, basically like a way to like sample music. And I just come up with all these like weird. I was like curating these songs basically, and like just putting like guitars and like together, and like I love break beats too, so I like put like break beats and like shoegaze music, like shoegaze, like My Bloody Valentine.
Oh yeah,
kind of like it was like I was like mixing like My Bloody Valentine with like a break beat, and it's kind of cool. But I lost interest in just sampling. Now I like actually would want to like create stuff, and I had a lot of time to sit around with my wrist, and I started. I bought this guitar in Japan. A Fender Telecaster from
the best
from the 80s. Do you play?
Yeah,
dude. So I bought
that's such a good guitar.
It was a made in Japan one from the 80s, which I heard is a good time. And dude, but I had this thing recently with it. It's like an all black Fender Telecaster. It's like so sick with this like maple neck. It's like perfect looking thing. And the other day I was like sitting with it playing in the sun. And I look down, I'm like, why does this thing look like green? And I flip it over, and there's like an Apple logo underneath the paint. And I was like, that is the weirdest thing. Why is there an Apple logo under this thing? And I told my brother, and he's like, oh, damn it. And I was like, what? He's like, I didn't want you to know, but that's basically been like a re-glossed body. And it ruined it for me. I thought it was this perfect guitar, and now it's just like, it's tainted, dude. It's got an Apple logo.
Sand it back.
I don't know if I can, dude. I bought it in Japan. And the other thing is
sand it.
Oh, sand it.
Yeah, just fucking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, I put so much love, and I carried that thing. I bought it in Japan. I carried it around with me to all the rest of the races. It was a hassle to get it on the plane. So there's really a lot of sentimental value behind that guitar. So when I flipped it over, I was and like all my friends were just laughing and stuff.
Oh, dude, that is pretty brutal.
It still plays nice.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not the greatest player, but
I love the baby blue, or the like the mustard.
The mustard,
I think it's like a 70. Go to like the first Fender Telecaster. They had like that mustard kind of. I can't remember. First Fender Fender Telecaster. There you go. Yeah, see that?
Oh, yeah.
Like that mustardy color?
Yeah, that's sick. It's very cool.
Do you know Julian Lange?
Mm-mm.
So we'll have to cut this bit out because of copyright. Go to YouTube and type in Julian Lange. 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 Or Lage. Guitar. Just type guitar. Yeah, all right. No, top one. Like this guy, bro. This guy plays like 6 guitars at once, and he's a big telly guy.
Kind of like jazzy. Wow, that's very beautiful.
Yeah, this guy is like next level, bro.
Whoa.
Go to like, what's the most replayed? Just like, no, go back to.
Dude, he looks like one with that guitar.
Yeah, play it. Go there. Yeah.
See, this makes me want to like have like a nice glass of whiskey and dress up in a nice suit and go like sit at a jazz bar, you know? Right?
But yeah, that guy, go in a rabbit hole because everyone always says like the telly's like such a basic guitar that doesn't do much, and then
really?
He's like, nah, hold my beer, and just like extracts everything like out of that, you know.
What makes the guitar like basic.
I think it's just like the pickups and the
Oh, yeah.
modes and like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the different tones that you can like manually change on the
Yeah.
guitar. And a lot of like they'll just play straight clean sound,
Mm.
clean amp, clean and then they'll, change like even like a Strat, like all just the different types of pickups and then where you can put it. So
Yeah, the Strat is sick.
yeah, that's like a very versatile, like you can kind of make that
Yeah.
do whatever. But yeah, he's a full telly guy. They're such a sick guitar.
What kind of music do you play? Like, do you play
I'm trying to just really learn music theory.
really?
Yeah.
So like classical stuff too.
Not necessarily. I'm just trying to learn the guitar.
Oh, so you're at the stage of learning guitar.
Well, I played forever.
Okay.
And I would play like, Limp Bizkit, fucking Linkin
Nice.
Park, like System of a Down, Metallica, like
Okay,
just
cool.
all metal shit is like what I loved
Yeah.
to play when I was a kid. But then I didn't even have an amp, so I like had a guitar, and I used to have to ride to school with my guitar in like a soft shell case on the back of my BMX bike to plug it into the amp that the school had.
That's sick.
So like I never that was how little infrastructure I had around like learning, and YouTube wasn't a thing then.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you'd be lucky if there was like some tabs floating around. So like I never learned how to play guitar, but I played guitar forever.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, I don't even really play songs. I'm just like triads, chord progressions,
Cool.
scales, arpeggio. I'm just like trying to do. So yeah, my wife's like, she gets real pissed off. She's like, just fucking play some shit. And I'm like, I'm not playing songs. I'm learning
Yeah.
what this whole thing
I'm
does
getting the
now.
bones of this, and then you're gonna hear the masterpiece later.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but I think that if you get to that, like if you get the understanding, it just makes like learning shit so much easier,
Yeah, I need to do that. Like with bass and stuff, my friend would be like, you need to learn the scales. You need to play to a metronome.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, all right. And then I'll hear a song that I really like, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna try to learn this song.
Yeah,
Fuck the scales. That's so boring. But
That was me forever.
yeah. But I should do that.
Now I'll literally play like a C, a C, a C,
Oh,
a C.
okay. So you get
like,
to see up the scale, up the
oh,
neck.
like
Yeah.
there's, I don't know how many there. I guess there's like four. There's 16 C's, I guess,
Wow.
on a fretboard. As if you're playing it as like a triad.
Yeah.
And then each triad, you'll have like you'll have the root position,
Yeah.
the first inversion, and the second inversion. So it's like learning where those things are. And then like the C scale, no sharps or flats, right? So it's like C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
So like if you could do all those triads in all of those, and then you've got to know like major, minor, so there's like that whole music there. That's what I'm like
That's sick.
pretty into that at the moment.
Yeah, there's like so many different ways to play chords, man. Like one of my favorite bands, The Strokes. They play so many different versions of a chord,
Yep.
and like together, like harmonic kind of way of playing with the two guitars. It's so sick. But or like sus2 chords, those?
Yeah.
That's kind of like more like emo type chords.
yeah. So what kind of music are you playing?
Like we're playing.
Yeah, like what's the kind of like if you put out an EP, like what would it be? What kind of genre?
I don't know yet, to be honest. It's hard to put a thing on it. I haven't even really finished enough to really say. I'm gonna be really vague about it.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I'm taking a lot of inspiration from like, I kind of like more in my like emo phase, I guess, of things.
What kind of bands are you into at the moment? Or like what kind of emo bands?
Like like Brand New.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know if Sunny Day Real Estate's a emo band. Do you know Sunny Day Real Estate?
No.
Oh, they're sick. This isn't emo at all, but I love Block Party a lot.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Block Party.
Yeah.
And also a lot of Bob Dylan too. That's not emo at all. But did you see The Complete Unknown? Have you seen that movie?
No.
Timothy Chalamet film.
No. I want to. Is it out yet?
It's out. Yeah.
Is it good?
You should watch it.
Fuck.
It's incredible, dude.
He's a G too.
Timmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's sick. He's for that. I was on the fence about him for a while because I was like, I don't know if he's totally my vibe. He seemed like kind of a little bit more like the hip hop style hype beast dude.
I think he's like,
I think he's got some depth to him. I started listening to him on the Theo Vaughn podcast.
Yeah.
And he sounds like a cool
I heard
dude.
that he just like rocked up by himself too. I think like Theo says that in the show at some point where he's like, you just like came by yourself and there was no one else around. He's like, yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. In the movie, they have him riding because Bob Dylan rode Triumphs, like old '60s Triumphs and stuff. So they had him riding one around the city in New York, which I did last year. I was like, damn, this dude's stealing my thunder, man. That was my thing. But it's so sick. But you ever notice in movies, they really get the motorcycle wrong always?
All the time, bro.
Like the sound is normally wrong or the way they ride it, they combine CGI and it's like terrible. And I'm just like maybe that's a job for after I'm done racing. It's just coordinating.
You could for sure do that.
Just coordinating like motorcycles in movies, or like there was this thing in the film. I was so happy for most of it because they got the Triumph sound correct. They really just made it look great. You could tell he didn't ride a motorcycle because like he'd roll up to every scene. Like they'd just have him rolling up with his feet down.
Yeah.
Those people kind of like waddle up like that.
Yeah.
You could tell he wasn't like a motorcycle rider.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Dude, and I was so stoked. And there was this one scene in the movie where he's supposed to do a U-turn on a street in New York. And it was like they made the bike straight and just like that, just like a full CGI sped up turn. And I was like, no, why?
Call you.
They should have called me, dude.
Yeah.
I would even said a couple lines in the movie if they wanted me to.
If you had to, through the helmet.
Dude, if you wanted me to, even just show up for a scene and just have a little dialogue with Timothy, that's fine too. I'm down with that.
They fucked up.
They fucked up, dude. I could have rode that bike. I was already doing that in New York last year,
That was a missed opportunity by them.
Yeah, missed opportunity. But
one of the things from like hearing your story today, one of the things that stokes me out is I feel like you will be a lifelong motorcyclist.
Really?
In every sense of the word.
Yeah, I think no matter what, however it comes to a conclusion with my career, I think maybe I'll be like, okay, I'll take a break from this, but I can't stay away from bikes, man. No matter, like, if I go through a hard time, I'm like, but then I'll just find a way. It just comes back to me, and I love it, man. I love building them too, and like, that's something I'm working on right now is building this old like Rickman.
Sick.
I'm such a Steve McQueen nerd, but I want his bike, that Rickman, like the gray.
Pull up.
It's called the Rickman Matisse, Steve McQueen. It's it's like full 60s, made in England.
There you go.
Yeah. Probably if you click that, it'll come up. Just look up Steve McQueen. Oh, there it is on the right. That one up there. Left. Oh, wait. Down. No, down. The next to the green one.
On the left there.
There, that's it.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, that's the bike. That was like what he rode.
How did you get a hold of one of those?
So there's this place called Wasp in England. They have like a license to make Rickmans, and they sell like a kit.
Oh.
Yeah, and I contacted them, and they didn't get back to me forever, man. I was like, so I was in England, and I just rocked up to their factory, and they were like, no one ever comes to the factory. It was like so weird. Like, we've never had a customer ever come here, And I was like, well, I just want to see how you guys make these things, So I drove to Salisbury, England.
Yeah, right.
Which is my middle name, actually. So maybe I have some sort of connection with that place. But
you weren't Steve McQueen.
Huh?
You were Steve McQueen.
I don't know about that. But I checked out their whole thing, and they showed me around the shop, and yeah, they sent me the chassis right now. But it's not one of those kits. It's not like a Lego set where they send you instructions of like how you put this thing together. Like I built the engine in New York. I was with after one season, I think 2022. It's actually pretty funny. I've never worked a day in my life like a normal job. I've always just been racing, and basically I paid to have a 9-to-5 job. I walked into this shop called 6th Street, and there's this guy called Hugh Mackey, I think is his last name, but just a legend. In the East Village, this random shop, they do old vintage bikes, and like I just walked in there, and I was like, hey, I'm in the city for a while. Like, I'd love to build an engine. Could one of you guys teach me? And they're like, yeah, for money. But no, they were also like, yeah, of course we could do that. And this old he's from Scotland, and just like, just in there, they're in there smoking cigarettes all day. And then, he said, I think I got an engine for you. He pulls out this box of just like this engine. It's a 71 750 Triumph. And dude, like grittiest thing. Like it looked like it sat outside for years. So like the first week, the thing I did was just, they have this like underground like basement where they keep all the bikes, and they have like this parts washer in there. And this is in like December in New York, so it's freezing down there. And I'm just in there like just cleaning shit and like on the wire wheel, like cleaning each individual part. But I loved it, dude. It was so like cathartic to be in there. It felt like I found my thing. Like I was like, oh wow, this is what I love to do. Like just working with the machine that I like have so much connection to. I felt like I was, but it was so cool. And anyways, I built this engine, and like it was cool. Like I was staying with my buddy there, and I'd come back after work, and we'd go out and have a beer, and then each morning at 9 a.m. I'd get up and we'd go have breakfast, and he'd go off to work and I'd go off to work, and it's just pretty funny. But I've not actually had a real job. But anyways, so I have this engine now that I built, and I just am trying to piece all the parts together to make it look like that. And there's no instructions. And I had this moment where I was putting the suspension, like the swing arm on with all the rear shocks and everything. And it has these like spacers, these like bearing spacers. And it wasn't fitting. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. The parts are here. Why doesn't it fit? And I think if you ever have to go to the grinder when you're working on something, you're doing something wrong. But I don't know. I made it work. So we'll see how it all comes together. I don't know if I'm going to be the first one to ride the bike. I think I should be. It's like, you got to go down with the ship if it's,
Take it down the street.
I'll take it down. Don't worry. I'm going to be the first one.
What are you going to do with it? Like, are you going to...
I'm just going to leave it like that. And I might throw a light on it and a little license plate.
Canyon runs?
No, I'm not a canyon run person. I live on top of this hill, and there's like a coffee shop down the street from me, so I'll just do a little coffee shop ride. I don't even have my motorcycle license, so the cops can't catch me though, dude.
That's
they
so
could
good.
try.
Good.
Actually, probably could on that. It's not very
they
fast.
probably can on that. That's awesome. So you pull around the final corner.
Yeah.
At Mugello. Did you know your dad was going to be where he was?
No. So basically, what happened was, the cool thing about last year was the amount of American sport had really grown a lot. Like I started noticing a lot more Americans at the track in Europe, and that was what was really sick about like doing well. You like physically see it. So I saw these American flags around Mugello, like tons of them, man. Like it was so cool to see. And I think Italy is just also like a really big holiday destination for Americans. But so it was pure coincidence. I was looking to try to I wanted to carry an American flag back into the box, into Parc Fermé. And I saw this one person had one up there. So I like got off the bike and like I went to run up there to like, I was like, hey, can you give me it? And the guy, I don't know, didn't give it to me, but I like kind of went back, and then I turned around and I saw my dad there, and it was just this like coincidence. He just was there, and it was so cool, man. Like just he doesn't come to a lot of races. He comes to just a few, and sometimes he has this thing where if I'm like not doing well, he's like, oh, it's because of me. I don't want to be there. Like he doesn't want to jinx it. So for me, it was just like so cool for him to be at that weekend, which for me was like maybe one of my best ever weekends of my career. So, and then he was just there. It wasn't even planned at all. I didn't know he was going to be there, and I could have easily just rode past that corner, but to share that moment with my dad was just really something special for sure. I think it pulled at a lot of people's heartstrings to see it, including mine when I look back on it sometimes.
Oh, can we watch that? I want to watch the video of it. Dude. That's so like pure and genuine and real.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, and just at Mugello too. It's like all the fans there. It's like a stadium, man. Like you're just all the hillsides and just it was such a cool experience. I'll never forget that for sure.
And you guys, like, that has to be one of his best memories ever. Really.
I think so. Yeah, it has to be. We've been working at it. There's been so many like years working at it, and you know, I don't like to have like when it's like tough. I don't like to have family around and things like that because I know they feel it as much as I do. So I kind of like to go through it on my own. But you know, they do. Parents do. You know, my dad gets up every night and watch it. And when I'm racing, he's not sleeping like that weekend. He's watching all of the practices, getting up in the middle of the night, waking up. And so, yeah, for him to be there was something really cool. Just so much effort and time me and him have put into it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing when you see those first wins, and that's why I think they are so special, is because, like, there's just this massive discography of effort and time and races and ups and downs, and until you get the first win, none of that's validated.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that one moment. I think that one moment is enough to validate like an entire body of work, you know.
I think championship would be the next thing to validate it all. That would be the cap for sure. But yeah, you're right. It does. And just like I said, recently, me and my dad been digging up old like tapes from like when I first started riding and stuff. And yeah, it's crazy. Like looking at that now, just the last few days, looking at old videos of me and then that, it's just, full circle, man.
This has been great.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. 3 hours went by. Really.
Has it been 3 hours? Wow.
It's been longer. Yeah, been 3:20.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man. It's been awesome to
Bro,
talk.
I appreciate it. It's been cool. You're a rare thing.
Oh, thank you.
You're an American that's over there in the running to be world champion.
Appreciate it, man.
It's cool.
We'll try to do our best to get that done this year.
Yeah, and I'll be following a lot more keenly this year, just like knowing you and
Sweet.
and your story. So
Hell yeah.
this was right.
All right, man. Thank you.
Done.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.